Go. Thank you for call. What's going on, y'all? Thank you for call. What's going on, y'all? My name is Brother Legend. If you're joining us, welcome to the live. If you're joining us on YouTube, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know that you're getting some content from the live. This is a live recording. I post all my replays on YouTube, so stay locked to catch all the live shows. What's going on, brothers and sisters? Here on TikTok, y'all can find me BIGBROLGND on all platforms: TikTok, YouTube. I'm gonna start doing more Instagram. I'm gonna start. I gotta wait till the 8th, around the 8th. Then I'm gonna start doing more Instagram. B1initiative.org. That's our organization. Hey, there's not many people here yet. I hope some of y'all are in here though. Shout out to y'all for helping us reach the $1,000 goal that we set for our organization. If you got $1, $5, $10, whatever, we appreciate y'all donating. We're setting up a nonprofit for Pan Africans, brothers and sisters, to teach history to children, the history of our people, unapologetically, um, but also many other things. We're creating community. If you want to donate $1 or so, I appreciate it. Shout out to all the brothers and sisters that donated. I seen someone send $100 the other day, man. Last night, that was beautiful, man. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Um, that's really amazing because all of this is going to back into the community multiple times over. We're just getting started. We're gonna keep putting out this Pan African propaganda. But anyway, we got some things to talk about. The woman behind me was in The Bachelorette. Um, you know what I'm saying? She was she picked her bed, and she's been since disappointed to find out that it was made of mayonnaise. Tanya Love, what's going on, sister? Peace to everybody. Shout out to all of the descendants of my ancient mother. What up? What up? Peace and power. But anyway, today's conversation centered around can interracial relationships be problematic? A live that I host often. Never once do I get the same show twice. CB Librarian, peace, sister. What's going on? Again, thank you to everybody that sent money last night and donated to b1initiative.org. If you want to join us, the link is in my bio to join our Discord, see what we're talking about, especially if you have young Black African children, um, you know, in America as well. Anywhere you exist as a Black person or an African, b1initiative.org. We got some resources in there for y'all to help teach your children something about our people. So let's talk about it. Answer the questions up above. I will give out grades. So answer the questions. There's 3 questions above us. Are interracial relationships or can interracial relationships be problematic? Can a brother or sister marry a white T person and still claim to be pro-Black? And do interracial relationships benefit the community? Let's talk about it. Someone in the comments seems very confused. We're not talking about genetics. We're not doing that. Only one type of people thought that race involved biology, and they followed a man with a little mustache. We don't like that. We don't do that here. We know it's not. We know that's not what's going on. So let's not go down that route. Even you asking that question shows me where your mind is at. Anyway, um, absolutely. Black African, you have no connection, so separate from African. Why would you want that? Why would that be something of interest on your mind, Pink Cloud? Why would you want that? Like what purpose does that serve? it always it's not interesting. It's just very telling when non-black or non-African people seek to tell African Americans that they're not African. That's very puzzling to me. Why that's any of your business, especially knowing that your people, your ancestors, have either benefited from us being forcibly removed from Africa or being the people that forcibly removed us from Africa. Knowing that we're from Africa, because if I say, uh, that we're from where your ancestors is from, you're quick to tell us that's wrong. If I say we're from Egypt, y'all are quick to get upset about that. It's just weird. It's almost like you want to continue the culture of your colonizing ancestors and remove Africanness from African American people. That's what they did, right? I mean, you don't put people on boats. You don't put millions of people on boats so that and take them all the way across the world just for them to still claim the land you took them from, right? Your whole point of not teaching them their customs, their history, making sure that they don't continue to learn their language from their parents is not passed down. The whole point of that is to make sure to sever their tie to the richest continent on earth, right? So that you can continue to benefit from robbing it. Peace, emergency break. So it's very telling when you do what a slave owner would do and try to tell African Americans they're not African. You're really just following your tradition, which is why I say it's nothing new. It's not atypical. It's not a hot new take, but it shows. It shows. You know what I'm saying? Very interesting. They are definitely obsessed with us. I don't get it. What is the point? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do I look like walking up to like Taylor Swift and saying, "You're not European. You're not European. You're American. You're," and like, what do I look like walking up to them and saying, "You have no ties to Europe. You're mixed now. You're a different person." Like, even though the idea of whiteness was created in Europe, even though she's speaking a European language, not because she was forced to, she didn't choose. She didn't. Her ancestors were never in a situation where they didn't choose to leave Europe. They chose to come here, right? So they're still very much tied to their European ancestry, whether they want to believe that or not. But it's just funny, you know. What do I look like telling her that? It's none of my business. Why do you care what people do with their lives? Are you talking about the conversation I'm talking about, or are you talking about the background? You got to make that distinction. Because if you're talking about what I'm talking about, why do I care what people do with their lives when they're telling me I'm not African? That's really weird. That's like your neighbor walks into your house and is telling you where to put your bedroom, and you're like, "This is none of your business." And when you say that to them, someone comes to their defense like, "Why do you care what they're telling you to do?" Like, that's weird. If you're talking about the conversation behind us, we're just asking questions. We didn't say we care. We're talking about whether or not it's problematic for our community. If you want to be problematic to our community, by all means, no one can stop you. But we're going to talk about it. That's it. That's all we're going to do is talk about it. Hey man, who wants to come up here? There's a lot of weirdos in the comments. I said that with my German accent for a reason. There's a lot of weirdos. Weirdos in the comments. Come on up and talk about it. Come say it with your forehead. Peace. Appreciate the gifts. Thank y'all for tapping like, man. We over 2K likes. So feel free to come on up here. CB, I forget you part German. That's a horrible German accent, but you know what I'm saying. Appreciate you, SB. Anybody wants to come up, feel free. Let's talk about some things. Everybody that sent donations to B1 Initiative last night, man. Y'all really blessed us last night. We're a quarter of the way to our goal. Appreciate you. CB Librarian, what's good, sister?
Hello. My name is CB or Ronnie. I'm 48. I'm black with a honky tonk mother. Interracial relationships are problematic. Um, you can't be pro black and marry white. Do interracial relationships benefit the black community? No. And I feel with this, we can argue about this all day, but I feel the reason why they are the most problematic is because of the bicoonery that goes on in some of these lives. I see it, and I believe that they are the biggest problems.
Heard that a lot of the times our biracial brothers and sisters can be weaponized against us in our progress as a people. Shout out to Diva G for subscribing. Thank you very much. I will be doing subscriber lives on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's gonna be real quick, but we're just gonna talk about honestly whatever's on y'all mind. We're gonna talk about a few things, but I'm gonna keep it kind of open so we can just talk about what I've learned, what y'all have learned, different things. So that's the whole plan. Yes, the biracial brothers and sisters can be weaponized um, by their non-black mother. A lot of the times, they are weaponized, um, and we could talk about that as well. But I'm gonna go to the next guest. Appreciate you, CB librarian. Uh, Diva G, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
55, Native American, black, a lot of other things, Haitian. I mean, I don't know how to really respond to that. I am a black man, black skin tone, just like you are. I guess that's the proper way to say it. And I guess I'm trying to go about this to be politically correct because, I mean, on one panel, I get people that are like, they're not about the slave Atlantic trade thing, which I am. And there's some people that are like, it's just so mixed up. I just don't want to offend. So if I sound like I'm being sketchy, I'm not. I'm just don't want to offend anybody.
Don't worry about that.
Hey, real quick, Diva. I would love to see the picture of your grandmother that we saw a few days ago.
Okay, well, right now, before we even, you can always see my grandmother. I mean, you can just go underneath her. The site that the picture that you're looking at right now that says Diva G. My name is Tim, but we call her Diva G because she just says what she wants. That's my grandmother.
All right, so my thing is, no matter where you are, if you're black, just say that. You know what I'm saying? If it offends people, if it don't offend people, I don't really. I'm black everywhere I go, so you know what I'm saying. I might refer to myself as an African, because Asian people once used to be called by their color. We no longer call them that. We call them Asian. So
Right.
continental identity, I don't see why it should be taboo for me to adopt that as a displaced African. Your mixture culturally is once again that's something that doesn't change your Africanness. Being mixed with any other kind of human doesn't change the fact that you are still a black or an African, because we're the most genetically diverse uh, race on the planet. Continent, even on the continent, there's different types of African people with different kinds of phenotypes, different types of haplogroups, all existing and building together. So it's not, it doesn't make you any less of an African just because you might come from some sort of mixture down the line. Also, I would be careful with the whole, Native American thing, because a lot of brothers and sisters have been brainwashed into believing they're Native American in America, but they're not. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about this actually. She says that a long time ago, because a lot of people are quick to say my grandmother was Native American, and this is something that happened back on the plantation. Appreciate you, Tia. You know, on the plantation, a lot of people, a lot of sisters would say that they was Native American because they was ashamed of the fact that their mother was raped. So they would have that long hair, and they would say it's Indian hair, but it was actually European hair. So that's another thing we could talk about, but it happened quite a lot in especially like Louisiana. um and then you also had those that did participate in native or indigenous culture, because they were considered free on native land, even during slavery. However, even there they would still call themselves African. There's books written in their own words where they do acknowledge their African ancestry. Just because you practice a different culture doesn't make you any less black.
Right.
But we could talk about all that. Give us your take on the questions behind this.
The question behind, let me see, Ken. Yes, they can be interracial relationships can be problematic. That's being played out every day. Uh, let's see, marriage is white. I don't understand the second question. What?
Can brothers and sisters marry white tea folks and claim to be pro-black?
It all depends on if they subscribe to the culture. If they subscribe to the culture, they can. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have some of my sisters are very. I mean, they're very fair skinned people, and they're subscribed. I mean, they are like pro black culture. So yeah, so that's a yes. Do interracial relationships benefit the black community? Yes, I think they do. I think that they do. I mean, there's a lot of benefits there because my sisters, when I was a kid, my sisters being fair skinned, I remember being in Greenwood, Mississippi, and I wanted a hamburger. And this place, they sold hamburgers, but I couldn't go in there and get it because I wasn't lighter than a paper bag. But my sister could go in there. She could pass. They call it passing. She could pass. She could go in there, wear it, but by the same token, my sister, when we were at school and we had different things come about, like football games, basketball games, baseball games, some of the brothers, would give my sister a hard time because of her light skin. So there's yes and no's there. Yep.
Well, I'm actually honestly, I actually feel kind of bad for what you just said. That's actually triggered my empathy, man. Like, you know how psychologically defeated you got to be to
Yeah.
say that having light skin benefits the black community. Like that means that's basically saying we just got to get on our knees, y'all. We just got to, make massa more comfortable.
Well, when
Like
we
honestly, everyone, it benefits us. Anything that benefits us, we may as well just go ahead and lighten up. Like, stay out the sun, y'all. Like that's what you just said. Is pretty ridiculous, to be honest, because um interracial relationships benefiting the black community is not even outlined in your example. I didn't say can interracial relationships benefit black individuals. Racism and colorism does not benefit the black community. That is a system that, instead of dismantling, you're saying we may as well just do what it wants us to do and be lighter skinned. Like, and that alone is a benefit. That is a level of anti-blackness, once again, that is coming out in your answer there. I would say You got some work to do. As far as unpacking that. I feel that's a shame.
Well, it's not just about the light skin; it's about all the other factors that surround. I mean, there's just I don't know how to. Because like I said, light skin doesn't always deliver. I mean, there was some people I have, relatives that have tried to get jobs and they were hired and everything until they found out that they were of African descent, black, whatever you want to say. When they found out, they didn't get the job. So it can be either one. It could be an either or thing, and it's not just about this complexion, because behind that complexion, although my grandmother was an Caucasian woman, I'm able to, in other words, I proceeded from that through her, through my mom, through the people that came before me. I proceeded from that, but I'm able to conceal that. Not that I want to. If I never brought it up, no one would ever know. They ask me some people say, well, you just seem a little odd, a little different. And when they come home with me, they're just blown away. They can't, and what they don't know is my grandmother has some black blood. She's not, because she's Cajun, but she's able
Gotta
to.
stop doing this. You keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over. You keep
Mhm.
making up races. Cajun is not a race. We're talking about races here. We're not talking about cultures.
Okay.
You
Well,
keep doing that. Gotta
okay.
stop doing that.
So when you say race, you mean like black, white. That's what you mean, right? Correct?
Black, white, red, brown, yellow.
Okay. That's okay. Then I probably need to do this. I probably need to remove myself from the conversation because my mindset is those are not races to me. I was taught that race is they're human race, they're Nephilims, there's aliens, those are all races to me. We're now me and you are race are the same race. We're all human. We're both human.
Um, the level, like I'm you're saying this stuff, and I feel like you're saying it with a straight face. So I'm trying to take you seriously. But I don't know. Like, do I have to teach you right now? Like, I don't know. You said you was a black man when you came up here. You didn't say you was a non-alien. So what's going on right now?
I don't understand. What do you mean?
He was raised by this woman right here, Brother Legend.
You was raised by Tim Burton's
Oh my
queen
God.
from like what are we talking about? She looks like she's from James and the Giant Peach or something. Like, what does that have to do with this conversation?
He's
Well, I answered
13%.
your question. I don't understand. And
Nah, because you said Nephilims and aliens, bro.
because those are
In a
races.
conversation where we're talking about race, bro. And I just like,
I
are
explained it to
you
you.
are you playing? Like, I don't know if you're serious or not. Like, do you believe in Peter Pan? Do you believe in James and the Giant Peach? Do you believe in you believe in a tooth fairy? Like, you're a grown ass man. So I'm trying. I don't know what level of like intellect I'm working with. So I'm confused. Like, what are you
Well, I'm gonna
talking about?
help
You
her with.
Nephilims, bro? Like, that's a race, bro. But black and white and races that actually exist and operate in our society, bro. The way you're judged as a man is not because you're not a Nephilim, bro. Like, what are you talking about right now?
Do you, I don't understand. What does the three fingers mean?
That's
Go ahead,
three
talk to us.
paws.
Oh, three. Oh, um. Well, like I said, like my origin of thinking and the way I was taught is that when it comes to humans, no matter what shade you are, we're all human. There is no black and white. There is none of that. That's all something
No, no,
created to
no.
keep
That's
us.
real. That's real. That's real. Every time I walk around, every time I get pulled over, all of a sudden it becomes real as hell. I don't know how. When I go to get a job, I have to shave. I have to make sure my hair. I put it in a ponytail. I can't talk how I'm talking to y'all right now. All right. My name is John. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Like, you gotta like stop playing in my face, bro. Stop playing in my face, bro. That's all I'm saying. If you don't understand, if you think that giants and Nephilims and aliens exist, then Go talk to them about race. Talk to them about how they oppressing you, bro.
I,
Well, up here we're talking about like in reality. Like I don't know where you at. Like you,
well,
I
brother,
don't know, man.
Legend, listen, I've watched your videos. I think you're one of the coolest teachers. I get you, I understand you, and I'm really trying to learn. I was very honest. I said to you, my origin of thinking the way I was taught.
Don't think like that.
So
That's the
hold
most
on,
ignorant.
wait, hold on. So maybe I should do this because I really don't want to offend anybody. I just need to come off the panel and I need to go and I need to do some other things with my life. But I do appreciate you, and like I said, I really admire your videos. I watch them all the time. Um, and I don't like when you're just a very uplifting man. I really appreciate you. So thank you. So I'll come off the panel.
All right.
Okay.
I will.
Uh-huh.
Hey, man. Honestly, I continue to teach for people like yourself. I just, we're gonna talk about race between human beings up here. That's what we up
And
here
I
talking about
I
because we
get
are
you.
oppressed. No, people don't just look at me. What's it called? Niani Finlayson, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, Mike Brown. Like these people didn't just get looked at as human. They got looked at as a threat for a reason. It wasn't just because they walk upright on two legs.
When
You know what
you
I'm
put
saying?
it in
So,
that context, I understand where you're coming from, but okay. What I need to do is I just need to come off the panel because someone has put my grandmother's picture down at the bottom, and I don't know why they do that. Like why?
I'll
right?
tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I wanted people to understand who we are talking to. We're talking to a black man raised by a white woman who told him to ignore race and racism. So I just wanted people to be aware
M-
that a white woman that you hold in high regard, and I don't blame you. I got a honky mom, so I love her too. But she's teaching you bullshit as well as I don't know. You're coddling her, and you're bringing it into here and making these we had this conversation before, I think a couple days ago there, Diva,
Right,
where
and I
you were
appreciate you.
talking about you're part of the human race. You don't do the other race stuff or nothing like that, and you love your Grammy and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted
CB,
people to understand who we're talking to.
Well, because
CB, I love how you cleaned it up for Brother Legend. I loved how you tidied it up for Brother Legend because you came in CB room and told us that you are a black passing man and that you are 13% Irish. So keep it all the way funky. You learned
okay,
that you was a black man less than 48 hours ago, and
okay.
I love that you picked up that lesson. But the capping you doing on this stage right now, mm, mm. The
It's a lot
cap,
of
the
learning.
cap
A
on
lot of
this
learning.
app.
I don't know. I'm trying to talk with you, brother Legend, but I'm finding it very difficult to communicate with you and learn. And like I said, like what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sit
All
and I'm
right.
just gonna watch and I'm
Yeah.
just gonna
Good
listen.
idea.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Maybe then you can learn to love black culture because you remember how you say you ain't want nothing to do with black culture either.
Okay,
Don't
wait a
fake the
minute.
front.
What? Wait a minute.
Don't fake
Why?
the front
No, what you're
in front of
trying to
Brother
do
Legend. Don't
is
fake.
you're
Don't
trying to.
fake because you did say that.
Okay,
You
wait a
said that
minute.
black culture is about gangsters, scamming, and ebonics.
Okay,
Don't sit up in here and lie for
okay.
Brother
No,
Legend.
wait a
Don't
minute.
sit up
Hold
here and lie for
on.
Brother
Hold
Legend.
on. Wait a
Don't
minute.
do it. And that's
Can I
exactly
speak?
why I came up here because I knew you was gonna lie.
Because no, I'm not lying about anything. Like you're sitting here, what you're doing is you're pushing all this in the wrong direction. What I simply said yesterday, you asked me what race was I, and I told you I was human, and you just started acting all up, and you said, well, are you black, white? And I said, well,
Thank you for reminding me that you also called three black women aggressive and angry
but
because of the
because
things that you said. You literally told me that you couldn't align with black culture because you were an opera singer. You had another black man relate to you
wow,
by saying that he was also an opera singer. You made it seem like other black people didn't like you because you were an opera singer. And I asked you why you had an issue with aligning yourself with black culture. And you told me it was because you wasn't gangster enough, because you don't write checks, i.e.
Hmm.
scamming, and because of
brother
ebonics.
Legend,
So
let me
don't
just
get
say
up
this
in here
right,
and lie. One thing Tia
brother
don't do
Legend, let
is
me just say this
lie.
right here,
One thing
like.
Tia you don't do is lie, and I got
No,
receipts
you
right
know
here in
what?
this room.
I am
Cause
not
I
gonna
knew
get
you was
into
gonna
this
get up here
argument
and
with
cap
you.
on this
No, I'm
app.
not.
You
I have
can't get
no
on
reason to lie.
get
For
in here
what?
and argue with me because you know I'm not lying. You
Because
know
I
I'm
don't
telling
want to
the
argue.
truth.
That's the
You was
thing. That
in
is what
here.
I'm saying.
You was on
This
this
is
app
why I
talking
can
about how you
say
13%
that I do
Irish,
not
man. Bye.
ascribe to black
You
culture
dark
because this is
skin
what
with
we do. I
locks.
don't want to
You
fight
dark
with my
skin with
sister.
locks,
Do you
and
not
I'm not
understand
your
that?
sister. I cannot be your sister when you don't think you're black. Make it make sense.
You know what?
You put
What you're doing is you're
you
trying to
think you
hold
put
me to a
French bread.
yesterday
You
when
think
I'm
you
trying
put
to
French.
evolve into a new me.
You
And
trying
that's
to
what you're
evolve into a
doing.
new man in 48 hours? In 24 hours?
I can change.
You made a little
It
bit of
all depends.
progress by
It
calling
all
yourself
goes into
black.
changing your mind.
You
I'm
put
exposed to
quote
something
unquote
very
French
new, and
braids.
I'm trying to
You
adhere
put
to
quote
it,
unquote
and
French
you're not
braids in
allowing
your
that to
Mima
happen.
hair, and you don't
No,
even know that those are not French braids. Those are box braids, boo, on
it
your white
doesn't. Why these
Mima's
things are
head.
so
You
small? We have
culturally
an issue
appropriating
here.
it. You
You
don't
just
even
like
know
going
it.
all
You
off,
don't
being.
even know it.
This is
Because
what
I
I'm
don't
talking
like
about. This is
liars.
what.
Hold on,
I
Sister
don't
T.
like
I can hear
liars.
from
Keep
God.
Oh
that money.
wow,
I do not like a liar. And you called me aggressive yesterday, and
you
I'm gonna
are.
give you
You're
aggressive today.
demonstrating what you
I'm gonna
are.
give you aggressive today because I don't like a liar. You're not gonna
You
sit
were
up here
giving
and
me
lie.
aggressive
You are
yesterday.
not going to sit up here and lie, and I'll do it
You
again
cannot
because I
like
don't
you
like a
cannot.
liar. I don't like a
Yeah.
liar, and I'm gonna
Hold
do it
on,
again.
Uh-huh.
And I'm
Sister
gonna do
T.
it every
Yeah,
I
but
single
can help
time.
him
I'm
out.
gonna do it every
I
single
can help
time.
him out.
Get that 13% and get it together, okay?
I can
Get
help
the
him out.
13% together because the rest
I,
of us over here, you don't like us. Remember, because we too black
yeah,
for
I
you.
never said
We
that
too
I
black
didn't
for
like. I
you.
didn't.
We
How
too
can I
black for
like
you. You
not
did
like
say that.
myself?
You
That
did
is the
say that. And
craziest
you said
thing.
you had a
oh
long
I
Lord.
never
list.
said that. You're
You
putting
said you
words
had
in
a
my mouth.
long
You're
list of reasons
villainizing
why you.
me.
I'm not
That's what.
villainizing
That's
you. I'm telling the
All
yes, you
right,
truth.
are.
y'all.
I'm telling the
That's what you're
truth.
doing. But
I'm telling the
I'm not
truth.
gonna argue with
I
you.
am
I'm not.
telling
Y'all.
the truth.
I'm
Hold
here to
on. Hold
learn,
on.
and you're
Tell the truth and
interrupting that
shame the
learning
All right.
devil.
process.
Oh my God.
Go cry to your
Diva
mama.
G. Yeah, don't let's not learn on stage.
But the thing about it is what I'm trying
Yeah.
to put. This is a situation that I've had when it comes. It's women like this personality type right here. When I was in college, I had a African American instructor who failed me 3 times. When they
That's what
examined
your ass
why she
get.
failed
Because
me,
anybody
they
who
told
hold a
me I
Said
should
I
have
failed
13%,
passed
your
the
ass.
first
anybody
time.
who hold on to
And yeah,
13% to represent
that
their
that
identity
happened. And when
deserve
they
to
asked
fail.
her why
You
she did
deserve
it,
to
it said
fail
because I
every
look
single
like her
time.
ex.
Every single
She
time.
failed me
Every
because I look like her
my
ex. That's crazy.
my nephew know better than to try to claim 13% to represent himself. You
I did
deserve to
not claim.
fail
I did not
several
say I
times.
was
Yes,
Irish.
you
I never
did.
did say that.
Everybody who
Just
was in
because
that room heard you say you
my
are
grandmother is
13%
a Cajun
Irish.
woman, she
You
has
are
a multitude of.
13% Irish. You are
Okay,
13% Irish. Remember that?
and
You not black. You was bold
I'm
I
enough to say you're
I
not
listen,
black, but you're 13%
Diva,
Irish.
Diva. All right, hold on, y'all. There is a Dr. Francis Cress Wilson video that I'm gonna do a video on, and I'm gonna directly send it to you, Diva, because it speaks to a lot of what I was just saying earlier when you said Native American. Um, it speaks to a lot of what you're saying right now. She says that um, when it comes to the U.S. Census, white people, when they see it, they check white. They just, we white, white. But when black people do their census, they say, okay, well, let's see. I got some Native American, got a little Irish in me, a little Italian, and I got, this, that, the third. And a lot of the time, it's because we have an aversion to identifying with our own group. No one
mhm.
wants to be part of a winning team. I mean, I'm sorry, no one wants to be part of a losing team or what they consider a losing team. Nobody wants to be considered part of the most oppressed group. That there's an aversion to that is brought on by multi-generational trauma because of what happened to us during slavery. So we're quick to try to be anything but black, be anything but African.
I'm
And a
Haitian.
lot of the time, she says that a lot of the time, the reason why we try to cleave so much to indigenous culture and these other cultures is because, again, our grandmothers was great, and we're ashamed we're ashamed about it. So that's something we could talk about.
I really
But
would
if
appreciate
you,
that. I would like that very much. And like I said, I watch your videos. You're very knowledgeable. I like the way you teach. You teach on a multiple of subjects. I feel like I can learn from you, and I appreciate you as a person. And that's all I'm going to say to aspire to that. And I told everyone yesterday that I'm a Haitian Creole man, and I don't know. That's it. That is as black as you can get there without me. But just because I'm Haitian, it doesn't make me, like aspire to. I think yesterday when she asked me the question, I'm like, well, what does she mean? Because I've been on so many platforms. Some platforms, I'm just really confused about it. So if you have time, and I don't, whatever your charge is, because I don't even know if you're I don't know if you're a counselor like myself. I'll contribute to that. Just let me know what it is, because I really want
The Cash
to.
App is at the top.
Excuse, excuse me. Let him
The
talk to
Cash
me.
App is at the top.
Hit the Cash App.
Okay.
$ bring down Babylon.
All right,
B1
all right,
Initiative.org.
brother Diesel. I
You
can
can
help
join
you.
the Discord. But
I
I would say, yeah, just phrase your questions appropriately. You're going to trigger a lot of Pan-Africans with your lack of knowledge of our culture. And then so that's gonna be, you're gonna get a lot of pushback, and it's gonna be a journey of self-correction. So self-reflection, self-correction. Black folks, one thing about us is we will push you towards righteousness,
mhm.
like no other people. We hold each other accountable. We hold each other, and that's what a lot of black people don't want to say. We hold each other as a group. We hold each other in our community more accountable than any other race, than
Like when Ti
any
when T,
other people.
when Ti talks, I understand what Ti when Ti talks, I understand him. When Candace Owens talk, I understand those two, and they're opposite. They thought processes, they think totally different, but I understand both of their perspectives. But when she talks to me, I don't understand where she's coming from. Like, it's just, this is the most aggressive thing. It's
All
just
right, no, you
aggressive.
gotta stop. See, that's what I'm saying. You have a little, and this is something that Julia Harris says as well. We all have a little mayonnaise man inside of us. Yours is so deep that, to be honest, I like I said earlier, go ahead and drop down.
Okay.
Don't learn from the stage.
Okay. And what is
Don't walk
mayonnaise?
on
What is a
stage
mayonnaise
and
man?
learn.
What does that mean?
White man, we all got a little bit of him in our brain that we have to battle, and it shows. It shows that yours has been untamed for quite a while. One thing we do not do is call each other aggressive. I've been married to a black woman, and I've been in a relationship with the same black woman for 15 years. Well, we've known each other, I'll say, for 15 years, because we was on again, off again at first, but
Right.
we married now, and I've been around her almost every day for the past 6-7 years, and I'll tell you now that I've never once thought to even call her aggressive. I have 6 sisters I grew up with. Never once called any of them aggressive. Never called my mother aggressive. I've been yelled at. I've even been, in altercations where they thought it was suitable to get physical. Never laid a hand on one of them, but sometimes, your sister don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. But all I'm saying is, I never thought to even call them aggressive. I said, "Yeah, why are you so mad? Why are you so upset?" Even mad, like, I would never think to label that as what as how they're being. It was just an emotional state. But saying that a black woman is aggressive is playing into a stereotype and a caricature, a archetype of black woman. You're putting her into um, a type of woman that white supremacists love to use. So I would say you don't want to use that. You got
Okay.
a lot to learn.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep going.
Thanks.
We've been talking too long.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Can I have a quick question? And I think Black Swan and Tia can help me get clarity. Is that an example of how a black man who is basically influenced to subconsciously dislike black women speak? Is that kind of what he was? Because that's the vibe I was getting from him. Like, he
I
did
think
not like.
it's how he internalized his upbringing, because there's a really bizarre thing happening with him that I've observed, to where he is a black man, obviously, like, by the way that he looks, but his mentality is like, it's almost like a YT person. I don't even know how to explain it. It's weird. It's really bizarre, but he's got like, there's like something going on with him. It's like he's like 2 steps back, where like Black people are, we've been indoctrinated, obviously. So there is a level of unpacking that we all have to do, but it's like he's doubled it. I don't know how to explain it, but I definitely think it has to do with the way that he was brought up. Diva, can I ask you one last question?
Yeah.
When you counsel people, what do you do when the topic of race comes up? Like, because and this is the reason why I'm asking this, because a lot of people in our community are hesitant to go to therapists because there are not a lot of Black therapists. You know what I mean? It would be bizarre to sit. I'm not saying don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have a YT therapist and you sit down with them, you know, most people would hesitate to even bring up anything that has to do with race. And you are somebody who's in that field, and we look to people that look like us in that field.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so what do you do when the topic of race comes up?
Well, it all depends on the subject, that the way it's displayed within the session, because most of the time, if I, when people say, "Oh, they just treat me like this because I'm Black," or they're just, this, whatever, I'll just say, "Listen, um, aggression can come from anywhere." Or I'll say, there is no such thing as Black. I'll say that because I've been listening to this, I can't remember her name. She always talks about Blacks and whites, those are not colors, those are not races. And she said there's only one race, that's a human race. I can't remember that lady's name. She's a
So
white
Diva,
old
I'm
white
sorry,
lady.
before you continue on, Diva, because you're gonna trigger people again,
Okay.
I'm gonna say this.
Uh-huh.
And I really want you to just take heed. And at this point, I don't care if you're offended, but you counseling Black people and telling them those things is so incredibly problematic and so harmful. It's a
Mhm.
disservice. It's a disservice to your community. It really is.
Wow.
Well, most of my
The
patients are
woman
white. They're
the
white,
woman
and
that you're talking about, I believe is Jane Elliott.
Jane Elliott, that's her name.
Right. And she is a white woman.
Yes, she is.
So as Black people, we shouldn't go to them to come up with our view on us. Like, and then on top of that, whenever you learn about anti-racism with a anti-Black mindset, or African history with an anti-Black mindset, you're going to miss the nuance.
Okay.
When she says there is only one race, the human race, she doesn't mean that that racism doesn't exist. She's still talking about Black and white people, and how Black people are oppressed and how white people are doing the oppressing.
True.
So
Yeah,
she
that's
doesn't
true.
just say, "Oh, we're humans, and humans, there's good humans and bad humans." She's not doing that. But when you say there's no such thing as color, there's no such thing as anything, as if like that's what she's talking from, is from a world where racism was never a thing. You know what I'm saying? That's like you're on a basketball court and we're playing a basketball game and we're trying to, pass the ball to you, and you're like, what's the difference between a cup and a bowl? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now you're in some deep, otherworldly, higher consciousness, while we just trying to play a basketball game. Like, we understand the basketball game is a social construct, but sitting on the court saying there is no basketball. What is a game? There's no such thing. Are these really jerseys? These are just different colored clothes. Like, it's like, nah, man, we in a basketball game. The whistle has been blown. Racism started, all right? It started 400, 500 years ago. We are currently still being oppressed because of our race, as it has been defined by those that oppress us. Now, is there a scientific backing to it? No. Is there a biological or genetic backing to it? No. There's nothing actually there to say that this is something that is inherent to life itself. However, in society, it's a real thing. So we have to deal with it in society to in order to quell the effects of this real thing. We have to look at it the way it is, the way it exists. We don't want to deny people's Blackness and just say they're human.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and thank you for that. Like most of my patients are white. I think I have two black male. Well, I know I have two black males that come to me, and one black young lady that comes to me. And race, I think it's come up one time, and I just deal with other things with them, but never really race.
I
So
think
I,
that I
I
think
thank you.
Diva, in order for you to truly be effective, if you really do care about your community
Uh-huh.
and you really do want to learn, like in order for you to care, because that's such a sacred thing for us to find a black therapist that understands our perspective and understands what it is to be black, right? You are really doing harm to your community. You've got to unpack what's going on within you, and it's going to take time, but you have got to unpack what is going on within you in order to truly be effective,
Hmm.
to really be effective. Otherwise, you're doing harm, quite literally doing harm. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand. I
I
got it.
really hope you take heed from that.
Hmm.
And that is why you get the reaction that you get from Tia, because when people are harmful, people are gonna react. Let's go to the next guest, y'all. No more questions for him. We gotta move on. There's more people up here. Appreciate you coming up, Diva.
You're welcome.
All right. Shaka, what's going on, brother?
Peace, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Well,
Talk to us.
y'all already know Shaka, 20 years old. I'm black and I'm back, baby.
All
Uh,
right.
Lord. Lord. Now I ain't gonna speak on it, but Lord. Okay. I can answer all three of these questions at the same time with another way. I think that with all these, what affects the black community is that the black man, mostly the black man will leave the black woman behind, and which is messed up. Because think about it, like everywhere in every predicament we've been in for the past hundreds of years, the black woman was by our side. When we was getting beat on the plantation fields, that sister was there all times to heal us up, heal our wounds. You know what I'm saying? The sister had to do things beyond her divinity to make sure that her children, her brothers and sisters, and her man was safe, and
Mm-hmm.
that's facts. Uh, I think what it is. I think what it is with black men who like to clean with white women, they've been told for so long during slavery you can't have this woman, so that now that we somewhat have the opportunity to get with this woman, we think, yeah, we get back at the white man because we were his woman now. Yeah. And but that
Mm-hmm.
goes back to what I said: control, opposition. How do we not know that? The white man sitting there, white women, to destabilize what the black man has going on. You can say the same for the black woman, because it's a lot of black women who will say n words ain't, and then and I had black women past, been in past relationships where you know the person I was dating would say that, and I always respond with, "Well, I ain't a nigga." So, but yeah, it leads to us abandoning one another, and it destroys the foundation of black home, which was done strategically about white supremacy, America in general. Which is done strategically. They want to destroy the oh, it's L1. Oh God, my
Don't be
bad.
saying the N word, man. Yeah,
Oh God, my bad.
it's
Uh,
cool.
Yeah, but there it's a lot of abandoning, and I think we are abandoning one another, which leads to a lot of single parent house homes, and in turn that forces our kids to go out on the streets and get engaged with drugs, because they see how bad mother or father is struggling, so they know we got to bring some type of income into that house to help pay the bills, which, like I said,
Mm.
it was strategically done. uh
Real quick, Simply Yogo, you got to turn your camera on and turn it back off, or you're gonna get dropped. TikTok is gonna drop. Oh, too late. All right, go ahead, Shaka.
uh I am I think and it also ties into uh religion as well, because with all these religious paints, how they paint these white deities, like some of these white females. So when we see, so black men, when we see the white female, we think she's this divine entity that's gonna come in and change our lives. Like we ain't gonna have to deal with stress, etc., etc., which is completely far from the truth. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
um yeah, so yeah, it leads to abandonment, and the first thing the black man and black woman has to do, we gotta get that family structure back, and when we get that family structure back, we get our community structure back, and we can move on with get our liberation and freedom, so on and so forth.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's all true. Yeah, that's a breakdown. From our perspective. From their perspective, of course, the white tea woman tells she's well, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Her analysis is that she's having a conversation with white tea men when she gets a brother by saying that I have one too. You know what I'm saying? She's talking about eggplants. She's saying I have an eggplant that's more powerful than yours, and that's her way of trying to wield power of patriarchy in some regard, along with her white tea skin. That's kind of what feminism is about: is white tea women wanting to be like white tea men. So that's the thing. It's a pretty powerful dynamic. I would also say, it's sadomasochistic.
Mm, yeah,
So it's like it's a reciprocal dopamine fix for both of them, to the black man to feel like he's now able to feel accepted by a power structure that inherently excludes him, specifically unalives him for doing what at one point, to this day, we just seen what happened with Jonathan Majors. There's
yep,
still punishments,
yep,
but he feels like, okay, I'm able to do this. I'm able to wield this power that's been forced to be used against me, but I can use it. And then she gets to also, say that I have one of them under my control, because at the end of the day, um, they are the aggressors when it comes to these relationships. They choose us. We choose them. We choose to accept them, but they've chosen us, meaning we did not choose to want to uh, allow them into our community, but instead, when presented with the opportunity, we are quick to go for it. Um,
yeah.
you know what I'm
And then
saying?
this also ties in to, like you said, they control one of us, and they can set black man up because Mark Thurman, I think his name is, who was the head of the police back in New York. He said it himself when he said he beats up he when he told stories of how he would beat black Hispanics. He said, especially if we see a black man with a white woman. Come on, man, it's
Mm,
that's war. That's war. Like that's a setup.
yeah.
That's a real setup.
Nowhere on earth, when there was unalivings of people of a different, I'm trying to get around it, but GENO side, whenever that happened, anywhere on earth, there was never a time where the men would also be castrated. That only happened to Africans and black men, because that is what they're threatened by, our genetic material. Because that's the part of the body where we store our genetic material.
Yeah,
So, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. I had to run to your live, though. When I seen you was live, you just know I'm always coming, brother. I'm always coming. I got,
Appreciate you, King.
of course. Peace, y'all. Peace.
All right, peace.
I just wanted to add one little thing to what you two were just saying. First, I wanted to bring up how important B1 initiative is, because you're talking about, creating our units and everything. And it's very important that you are here leading a school for our children, because I believe that is where we can begin really deep rooted healing and protecting our children as well as Black women, and in providing those spaces. That's really important, because they're not, white people are teaching our kids, and B1 initiative is so important, because that is going to be the I guess how I see it in my head is a blueprint and a clear um, picture for us to build a community. So I want to encourage everyone to contribute to Brother Legends Bring Down Babylon B1 initiative, because that is where we start. That is how we start, and that's how we start building. Just wanted to put that in.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, CB. Absolutely. Y'all can send donations, whether you got $1, whatever. Hit the Cash App, $ Bring Down Babylon. That's what we're doing. Appreciate the gifts as well. We're going to continue organizing. This is the year of organizing for Pan-Africans worldwide. So it's time for us to come together. I judge white tea folks by their ability to self-reflect and be an anti-racist, an active anti-racist. And I judge brothers and sisters by their willingness to unite and how they respond to that call. Speak. What's going on, brother?
Peace. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, fam.
I'm gonna get shout out to the lost ones in the world and that nonsense that was in the box. Diva, that was a bunch of BS. But to answer the questions, number one, yes, interracial dating is problematic because Black people do not benefit from blending with pale people. I always say this, just because there's a law in place in this country for us to marry or be allowed to marry them people, to date those people, have kids with those people, does not mean Black people should be doing that at all. Two things in history happen that have us in this space. We were snatched up from Africa. We should have stayed on the motherland. But we know who them people are innately speaking or inherently speaking, either or. They are, let me say animals, because I don't like using the S word in your space, but SAVAG, you know, that's who they are as a people.
Animals is not good either on TikTok, but yeah.
It is what it is, man. Because of who those people are, we put it that way. Because of who those people are, we are where we are today. And again, that should never happen. And two, we should have stayed segregated. If everything happened the way it was supposed to in this country.
Say this on.
Okay,
brother.
Okay, I got you.
Cannot say certain things because they don't know the difference between you and a Thin Lippian saying that.
I got you. Listen,
separated is not the same thing, but you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna put it this way. Black people need to stick with Black people. Brown people need to stick with brown people. Black or brown should not blend with others. Stick within your race to keep your bloodline going. Stop doing yourself a disservice. Number two, no, it's impossible for a Black person to be pro-Black dealing with one of them people. Because how is it that you're going to prioritize your Blackness or your community if you're blending with them people? If they have an issue as a Black person, you will have to go into that community, deal with their issues, etc., and, you know, go against Black people because they have a problem. Say their family has an issue or what have you. Same difference. That's why I said before, Black people should not be dealing with them people at all. So you cannot be pro-Black having married or had children with a pale person. Number three, interracial relationships does not benefit the Black community in no way, shape, or form. How is it that we gonna go with Massa? How is it that we gonna marry into Massa's community? How is it that we gonna have kids with Massa when Massa did what they did to our ancestors in this country? When Massa did what they did to our ancestors to bring us, it spread us across the goddamn world, basically. It does not benefit the Black community. Like I said before, Black people stay with Black people, brown people stay with brown people, and leave them people alone. And fellas, I'ma land here. Stop letting these pale women fetishize you, obsess over you and your piece in your pants, because that's all they want you for. They lust over you. They look at you as other, and you're a god to them, even though we know what we are. But listen, fellas, stop letting them women fetishize you, man. Leave them women alone. Save your seed and get you a black sister. I land.
All right. Appreciate you, speak. He said it with very brash, but I feel like I get the point. You know what I'm saying? And TikTok is hilarious, talking about Master got good potato salad. I can't. That's funny. Actually, they make grape salad. I don't know if y'all know about this. I posted a video on my Twitter. It's this frosted female talking about she made grape salad. It's just a bunch of grape and mayonnaise stirred up in a bowl. That look crazy. But anyway, Tia, what's good, sister?
Good night. Nothing much. I just came up here to check the lives. Call me the TikTok stenographer.
Okay. All right. Black Swan, did you want to give us a word?
I actually have to drop down real quick because I'm going to lose connection, but I'm going to come back up in a few minutes.
All right. Peace, Queen. John Redcorn, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please. John Redcorn.
I apologize. I'm sorry. Tyler Bryan actually, and I'm a 34.
Race,
I'm black.
pronouns, he, she, they. Choose one.
Just he.
All right. Talk to us.
I fully understand what the last brother said, and I fully agree upon what he has said for the most part. You know what I mean? I do have biracial kids, and that was in the space in which I was at when I was in the military, which, is a different, you know, area in which you do interact with them. I'm not going to sit there and say that I fully agree upon treating people differently because I look at the outside in, and if I hear them speak to me like that, then I would feel some type of way. But I definitely agree upon it because of the fact our community was great until they start destroying us back in the 20s. And we need to get back to that situation where we rely on ourselves, and we need to teach our youth and save our youth so that we can be great again. Um, Do I believe in interracial? You know what? End of the day, I can't control how somebody feel. I'm not gonna sit there and dictate them. But what I am gonna do is promote black love, and I can honestly say that I agree upon what he said because I've lived it, where I try to relate and try to insert my blackness into that, and it doesn't exist. And then I realized that my plight is not their plight, that their troubles is not my troubles. And I was wasting time. And I feel you on that. And I think that there's a lot of experience that we have need to learn from them, but don't fully take everything from them. You know what I mean? Like just sit there and be like, oh yeah, maybe you're right about no, because you're not us. You feel me? And like
I'm
he said,
confused.
what I mean by
What?
that is like they cannot fully relate everything with us. You know what I mean? Because as humans, we have the same plight, but as a heritage, as a black person, they don't have the same.
As a black person, you're not considered human by most humans
But see,
outside
that's
your
the thing.
community.
I'm not going to let somebody dictate who I am because I bleed the same way they do,
But
and
they don't
and
care about that.
I know they don't care, and
You're the
I
only
don't.
one bleeding.
And hey,
You
you know what? There's
you
gonna be
bleed the
change.
same way. You bleed the same way they do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're the only people that's bleeding worldwide.
exactly. And I think that
So
we need to.
why do we gotta bleed? Is what I'm saying. Because
And
worldwide, anti-blackness still exists,
oh
not
yeah,
just because of Europeans,
yeah,
but worldwide.
yeah. And
Um. hmm
go ahead.
So
Oh, Apologize. Go ahead.
So it is a mental gymnastic that a lot of brothers, ancestors do. When they say, I wouldn't want to hear them say that. So I know we shouldn't say that either. That's like saying if a man is in the desert
Mm-hmm.
and he's dying, he needs something to drink. He's been in the desert for a long time. He hasn't had water. A glass of water would benefit that man, yes?
Yes.
All right. So now if a man is drowning in the middle of the ocean with nothing to cleave onto, would a glass of water help him?
No, not at all.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, yes, we're all human beings, and we know that. We know that we are human. However, we are humans under a certain predicament. We're humans placed in a certain environment that is hazardous to our health. What is good for us is not going to be the same thing that is good for them. And what they say, as far as segregation, is not the same thing as separation. Only people that think segregation and liberation are the same thing are people that don't take context into consideration. So when you look at the title of this live, it's Context Matters. I'm actually printing up shirts that are going to say Context Matters, because when you take away and remove all context from what we're talking about, only then can you say that uh, us wanting to liberate ourselves from our oppressor is the same thing as them excluding us from power structures and institutions. I can't keep saying that word because of TikTok, but S aggregation was not about them just being separate. It was about them making us second class citizens and making sure we were held back, making sure we didn't have access to resources, making sure we didn't have access to land, making sure we didn't have any control over our own environments and control within our community. That's what that was about. That wasn't just them trying to separate themselves. Us, us saying that we need to separate ourselves from those that have literally forced themselves to be in our communities. By that I mean you kidnap people from another part of the world and brought them here. Now that they want to leave, you're calling that the same thing as drinking from two different water fountains? Come on now. That's much different. When you watch Jason or Freddy or Halloween movies, with Mike Myers, you don't say that the woman running away from him is segregating herself. You say she's running away. It's because she has a context to the reason why she's running. She knows this man is coming to unalive her. So it's really weird. Well, it's not weird. It's just it shouldn't happen that brothers and sisters easily dismiss the context of which these people brought us here against our will and continue to oppress us, but then turn to feeling like we're oppressing ourselves by saying we want to be liberated from them. That's wild.
I have a question for him.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan to teach your children the importance of Black love when it wasn't important to you?
I
Go
never,
ahead, Corin. That was your question.
I was never said that it wasn't important to me.
Oh, I know you didn't say that, but you demonstrated it.
Um, at that time in life, I really just was going for love was love.
Mm.
So,
Y'all know that phrase was like created for the rainbow flag movement, right? Like I think I think it's wild how we've co-opted that to mean interracial relationships. But anyway, continue to you.
I we talked about this in maybe last week on one of your lives or the week before, where like I was saying that before kids will do what you say, they will do what you do. And so that's part of the reason I'm asking you the question, because you have may have learned your lesson, but they may challenge you on what you're telling them because you literally did not do what you say. So how can you tell them that this is should be important for them when you did not model that behavior for them? How are you going to bridge the gap between what you said and what you're telling? I mean, what you did and what you're telling them?
Marry a black woman.
That's a good question, and I don't have an answer. I was young and I made that decision. I'm sorry I made that decision, and I'm not going to take away from that decision of saying that I don't love my kids, because I do, and there's never going to be a chance in
Oh
life.
no,
No, it's
that's
just
much
like no,
different.
no,
Your
no.
children are black
Yeah,
children.
yeah, I understand that, and I understand the choices I made, and that I learned from that. But everybody makes mistakes, None of us are perfect, and I've learned that that's what I want. If my daughter sees that this powerful black man is providing for her the way that and love her the way that she do, and that drive her into the direction of loving that, because she sees that that I'm doing that, and she makes that decision to continue on with that same decision to care to be with a black man, then that'll be the greatest thing ever. But at the end of the day, I can't control that. All I can do is be a model base to show that, hey, we're not what they say we are.
I encourage you to think a little bit more about it really wasn't for you to like feel like you need to explain yourself to me or the room. It's to prompt you to think about how you can respond to the question if they challenge you for doing something other than what you're telling them. Just be prepared for that question and think about how you're going to respond.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
In my
I
opinion,
feel that.
can I say
I
something,
wanted to
Rizzo?
just
I'll
I
wait,
wanted to
Hey, hold on. Typically only one demographic. I've been doing this live for over a year. Shout out to everybody that's been tuning in for almost a year. It's been over a year. So if you've been tuning in all year, man, shout out to y'all. There is only one demographic of people that come on my live and think it's their turn to talk as soon as they join the stage. Can you
sorry,
please wait, Mr.
I did
Scholars?
not
I'm
mean
going to need you to mute. Please.
sorry,
We will get
sorry,
to you.
I did not mean any harm. I'm sorry.
Just
I
mute. Okay.
all I wanted to do was just add some notes here because Tia got this. But John, my mom was a German white honky, and my dad was a black man from the.
Please,
Sorry,
CB, that's the reason you
sorry.
cannot keep saying they know that word.
Okay, I
Go
apologize.
ahead.
Woman. And my dad was a black man from the South. And he was in the Vietnam War. They targeted black men. Black men went to a specific bar, specific area, and German white women would target black military men. That was just one thing I wanted to bring up to you. Also, don't tell your kids to ignore it. Don't tell them when they come to you, because they will. Be open about it. Talk to them. Don't tell them, well, we're all the same. Ignore them. Don't do that. You really need to be their defender when they're growing up. Because that shit is hard, really, really hard, especially if they're going to be growing up in a white community. So I just wanted to offer that, and a confession. My white side used whipped cream and grapes, so I just wanted to go ahead and repent that. So yes, they didn't use mayo, they used whipped cream. Listen, I had nothing
With
to
grape salad?
I had nothing to do with this, okay? I do not eat it anymore. I don't do it anymore. But I was exposed to some really bad stuff when I was growing up, okay? Really bad.
CB,
That's crazy. Hey, yo. Yo.
Hey, I
Wow,
appreciate
grape
that.
salad, y'all.
Hey, I appreciate that, and I think that this is a channel in which I'm going to continue to come back to. Right now, I'm with my daughter, so I'm gonna spend time with them. But thank y'all.
All right.
I definitely will come back. I promise you. I'm learning more. This is a new me, so I'm learning more from y'all. Thank you.
Okay. Peace, brother. Peace.
yo, we need to ring the Cersei bell for her for CB. Shame, shame, Game of Thrones. You gotta do the walk of shame through the Pan African streets for that.
Your stomach ain't hurt. Oh my God. Grape salad with whipped cream. Oh my God. That's crazy. Oh man. Anyway, that's why they love putting grapes and raisins and everything. Ever since Africans showed them how to use grapes, they just started going crazy.
There were raisins too.
Oh no. That's great. Oh man. That's wild. All right. Holy Spirit activate. Everybody, I'm gonna need y'all to tap
Holy
like.
Spirit, activate. Y'all
Yo,
slacking
man.
on the tapping. We should be at least 50K. Come
Yes,
on,
let's get to
y'all.
50K, y'all. I need y'all to tap like if you're in here. I'll turn the comments back on at 45 if we can get there in the next like 2 minutes. Other than that, we gotta get to 50K. Also to my subscribers, man, I got mad love for y'all, especially because y'all are continuously coming back. People that subscribe to the live, big up to y'all. Just because you subscribe does not mean you won't get blocked. I had that brother that came up here earlier, Diva, had some very problematic things. I kind of didn't want him in the space, but he kept using "I'm here to learn, I'm here to learn, I'm here to learn" as a way to like kind of, you know what I'm saying, like use that as a way to get in. You know what I'm saying? Because
Manipulate. That's what he was doing. Gaslighting and manipulating.
you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Yeah, he's kind of manipulating.
Yeah.
And then I seen him on another live do that where he will now send gifts to whoever is spewing the most anti-blackness on the discussion. You know what I'm saying? So just know, just because you subscribe do not mean you're safe. If you were subscribed, that means I'm gonna hold y'all accountable. You gotta be B1. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're an anti-racist, then just stay in that lane. Don't try to mind our business. But anyway, we're gonna
I
go to the
forgot
next
about
guest.
that.
So that's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna subscribe, come up here, talk about you want to learn, but you gonna reward and validate anybody that has anti-blackness? That is weird. That's weird. You're not going. That is intentionally harming this platform. What we're here to do. So, I'm not here, to build a reward system around anti-blackness. That's ridiculous. Sage Green, give us your age, race, and pronouns.
I'm 32. My pronouns is she, her, and I am Black.
All right, sister, go ahead, talk to us.
So this is my first time here. So if I mess something up or if I don't know all the rules, just please correct me. Obviously I know you will, cause. So to answer the first question, can interracial relationships be problematic? I'm gonna put a hard yes behind that. To answer the second question, can a Black man / Black woman marry white and still claim to be pro-Black? I'm going to put a behind that. Do interracial relationships benefit the Black community? I'm going to answer that question like this. If the white person that they're marrying, and if those two individuals in the interracial relationship amass a certain amount of wealth, and their children only marry Black and continuously to marry Black for the next few generations, then I do feel like there is a way that can benefit the Black community if the children of
How is it a benefit?
well, if they marry Black. So if they're biracial,
So
they
that
marry a
so
Black
if
person.
the that's weird because now you're saying you're not judging the relationship, which is what we're talking about. You're judging the product of the relationship, which would be Black children if they decide they want to be pro-Black, because they're not going to learn that from watching their parents, right? You can't learn pro-Blackness from somebody that has chose not to be in the Black community and someone that's not in the Black community. Like, you're not going to learn it from them. But if you do all that learning yourself and unlearning yourself, then you do all that work yourself, not because of the relationship. So the relationship is not going to teach them pro-Blackness. So the relationship is not benefiting the Black community, but they themselves, the children, can benefit the Black community if they come back to the Black community. So it's like it's not true to the question. It's more you're talking about how Black people, despite their proximity to other communities, can still choose to be for the community. but it's, you know.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the specific relationship and not necessarily the children that are a product of the relationship. So I just figured that, if those kids that are a product of the relationship marry black and they pass that wealth down on to the black community continuously and stay in the black community, and I thought that was a factor, but I guess I see what
So
you're saying.
the problem with that is that a lot of the
And the last
times,
thing that I wanted to say is
I think there's a
mhm.
delay in it. My bad. I didn't know you was even still talking just now. I think that my live is glitching a little bit. I was just gonna say a lot of the times, that wealth from them does not make it to us intentionally. Look at Meghan Markle. You know, like you can marry into their family, and they will even say they love you, but they're gonna cut you off from they're not about to let their family wealth from hundreds of years, because you gotta understand they have wealth from hundreds of years. A study was just done that showed that we as a people, black people, are 225 years behind the average white household when it comes to generational wealth. 225 years. So think about
It's
that.
lagging.
We was going to catch what was that?
It's lagging.
Oh, okay.
Am I the only one lagging?
Yeah, we might be having an issue, man. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Is it lagging?
No,
Like my
because even when I
audio
was
is
in the
lagging?
comments that it was. I mean,
It's
to me,
fine
it's
for
fine
me.
now.
Sage, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Sage? Pull your screen down and then come back. Like you don't need to leave, but yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying is that wealth from hundreds of years does not make it back to our communities through a marriage. It don't work that way. They will work to keep that amongst themselves. Meghan Markle is not going to pass on royal wealth to her children. She's going to take her behind to Canada and stay out there. And she might have some children that have a biological connection to the throne, but they're going to make sure she's not about to take over what we've built for hundreds of years. And then on top of that, when you really get into like powernomics, when you really start to see what the wealth that we're talking about is built on, why would we want it anyway? But anyway, when a
I just have one.
brother ends up with a frosted female, it's usually the brother that has the wealth, and she's there to snatch it up because she's there. Her role is to make sure that that power does not come back to our community. So she takes and she stops it from a successful black man with millions of dollars. Kanye was a billionaire. Michael Jordan. These really rich, wealthy black men. Their wealth does not make it back to our community because of them stumbling over a snowflake. But anyway, go ahead.
So the other thing that I want to say in the defense of Mr. Redcorn, I will say this: a lot of black people are programmed with white supremacy and with I'm just gonna say white supremacy, YT supremacy, whatever, however we're calling it. So a lot of times they'll make decisions early on in their life that's not in alignment with pro-blackness or their community. And as they get older, they're learning, hey, I was programmed with all of these ideas. Because at the end of the day, even though he had children with a white woman, he's still a black man, and he could always marry a black woman and have black children fully black children if he wants to make that turnaround. It's not too late. So and the other thing that I want to say,
But will he sell out his baby mother's community? That's what it comes down to. Not
the
saying
white
that he
one.
won't. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So not saying that he won't, but that's where it gets iffy. For example, in South Africa, you have European settlers, and then you've got the indigenous brothers and sisters of Africa that live there. There's currently a bit of a tug of war going on where the 10%, the European settlers, own 75% of the land. 10% of the population owns 75% of the land. The brothers and sisters want their land back. And one way to get that land back is to get them the hell up out their land, right? So now how you gonna have children with one of the women that's from the people that we kicking out? Are you gonna now stop us from doing what we trying to do as a people because you have been compromised with the people that are oppressing us? Or are you gonna not be a help to us and go run away with her? So you see what I'm saying? It's like at some level, it does compromise even the biracial brothers and sisters. And I've seen it on my own life. I've seen it where they will not defend. I've seen brothers and sisters, biracial brothers and sisters defend them when they come up here talking anti-black. But I've also seen them try to teach, try to, enlighten, try to get them to change their minds because they still feel empathy towards them that they don't have for our people. They don't have that empathy back for our people. They might have that empathy for their child, but they don't have that empathy for our people. And so, that's another thing where, even biracial brothers and sisters to a certain degree are going to have to choose not to be compromised. That is a very intentional choice. And, that's what we.
I have one
Yeah.
last thing I want to say, and it was to what Speak Your Truth was saying. So when I was listening to him talk, my biggest thing is that you will have black men who only date black women or will only marry black women, but a lot of them, I'm not saying he's doing this, is just in general. Unless I actually see him with a black woman and black children, I can't verify anything. So a lot of black men, and from my personal experience, because I grew up pro-black, my father owns an African bookstore. He's Muslim. He taught me the black man was God. I could go on.
Oh, he's Nation of Islam Muslim.
Yeah, he's not
okay.
He's not NOI. He's just straight
Oh.
Sunni Muslim.
Okay, I thought only the Nation of Islam was the ones saying that.
And he's right up the street from me too. Like I'm telling you, both my parents were they taught me a lot. But my thing is that, you have the black men who are married to white women and have children with white women, but there's a lot of black men that are sleeping white, but you don't see a woman on their arms. So unless I can see that he has a black woman on his arms, then I can't verify whether or not, you know what I'm saying, he's for black women or not. I got to see a black woman on your arms, and I got to see that you have your black children with your black woman. Because outside of that, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of black men that are sleeping with white women.
I'm gonna be honest. Can I take it a step further, real quick? Yeah. I'm gonna let you talk to you. A step further, and this is personal to me. I talk a lot from the scholars on my live. I talk a lot, and I'm teaching and all that. This is a personal opinion. Something I've noticed. My anecdote. Okay, take it with a grain of salt. I even question the loyalty. Not question. How can I say this? I'm not so quick to throw brothers in the pro-black box, even when they're single. I'm not saying that you have to have a sister on your. You have to be in a relationship. Actually, I'm gonna bring the comments back. My bad. Oh, I did already. Okay, so I'm not saying you have to be in a relationship to be pro-black. I'm just saying I'm not gonna 100% feel like you have a commitment to our community until you have done an intentional, bond, until you've created an intentional bond with a sister. And then even there, having children with a sister is in some ways a natural, if some people look at that as marriage, even if they don't have the paperwork and the wedding ring, a lot of our brothers and sisters, they end up quote unquote married without the marriage. But I still would then tell the brothers that making that commitment, because once a woman has a child, she's made a commitment, to raising that child. And we as black men need to then make a commitment to supporting her in that endeavor.
Yeah, but that's all I had to say is that, I don't know if y'all see that movie Don't Be a Menace while drinking your juice in South Central, and there was a scene of that pro-black talking guy, and then next thing you know, there was a white girl and he was calling her all these sweet little names and stuff. Like a lot of from my experience with pro-black men, they'll be married to will be spiritually married to dark-skinned black women, have children with dark-skinned black women. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of them mess with a lot of white girls. Like they won't marry them. They probably won't have kids with them unless an accident happens, but they're sleeping with them. And I'm just like, unless I see you with a black woman, and even if I see you with one, it's like it doesn't help if you're messing with white girls on the side. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
You're
All right,
not
so let me
wrong,
respond to
but
that. Hold on, T.
that was not an attack, Speaker Truth. I'm not
I
attacking.
know you. Yeah, I already know. Listen, I'm from Harlem, born and raised in New York. All I saw was black love. All I've seen, literally, it's rare that I've seen a black person, man or woman, with a pale person. I'm from the Mecca, and right now I live in Brooklyn. I'm surrounded by Caribbean folk, Haitians, Nigerians, and Latinos. All I see is black. So for other people outside of New York or wherever y'all live in and y'all believe in interracial dating, I will never understand that. I'm Central American. My people are basically African. It just so happened that we speak Spanish and Garifuna. We're fucking black, 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 super black, black, black. I'm 98% black. Personally speaking, I have never been interested in those women because I know the history as to who them people are and who they can be and what they can do to us. The minute a YT woman cries, Jonathan Majors happens. Anything she
Mm-hmm.
says, that black man damn near will be unalive because of the fact that she got this complexion for the protection from the collection. Is that what Paul Mooney said? That's why I
Something like
won't
that.
believe in that
Yeah.
bullshit. I would never,
Uh-huh.
ever deal with that because of
Yeah,
who
no,
they are
yeah.
and what they have the potential to do to black people. But that's what I know, and that's why I stand where I stand in terms of believing in black love, the nuclear family, and just seeing that growing up. And it's rare for me to be around a black man, even if it's across town. I'm from Harlem, from the Bronx, Queens, what have you. I have not seen that in my upbringing. Black, black, blackity, blackity, black. Like I said, fellas, and I'm a land here.
So you never
Stop
seen
letting
one of
these,
your
hold on,
homeboys sleep
stop
with a white
letting these
girl?
YT women fetishize you. They don't want you. They want access to your peen and that goddamn pants, or they just want to use you to be down with the you. They don't want you. They want access to your peen and that goddamn pants, or they just want to use you to be down with the get down and say, I got a black man beside me. They want to tokenize us. That's all that is. Stop using your seed or your energy to deal with those women. They don't want you. Get you a sister. I land.
But that's my thing. It's just like you
I
never seen them sleep with a white girl. I'm not talking about having a relationship or be public. Like they got sneaky links and people do stuff after dark all the time. I'm just saying when you say that you haven't seen it, you mean to tell me that you never seen no brother from Harlem sneaking around and sleeping with white girls, even though he had a black girlfriend?
I don't know
You never
about
seen
the
it.
Said
I
it's
don't know
rare.
about the New
Listen to what
York
I
City
said. It's
thing
rare, but I'm
because
not gonna go back and forth with you. But
No,
again,
you don't have to,
what
but
I
I just find
see
it
in
hard to
terms of
believe that you never
family, relationship, excuse me, children, marriages, etc. I see black marriages. I see black children. I see the black father with them black kids. I see a black kid with them black mothers. I don't see my people or our people dealing with those people. In my opinion, those people that deal with them people is something mentally off with them. But I'm not gonna bring that into here because y'all do this love is love nonsense. Nah, black love is what love look like. Don't know ain't no black person should be dealing again with a pale person. But I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. But that's rare that I've seen that in Harlem. Respectfully.
I don't know about that New York City part because a lot of those black men love
They
non-black
be sleeping
Hispanic
with white
women.
girls.
I don't even know about the white part. They love non-black Hispanic women,
They
and
do.
that seems to be a trend for like big metro cities. When you think about LA or Miami's, even like DC, some New York City, that's a common thing. Anyway, I wanted to answer your how to suss them out thing. You got to listen between the lines, and you have to ask questions to understand their consciousness that are not like super direct questions like do you like white women, do you sleep with white women, like not that out in the open. And when I say listen between the lines, I really shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm gonna say it anyway. um it's the men who say that they love all women. Anytime you see a man say he love all women, he's a bunny hopper. whether it's he willing to be in a relationship with one or he's sleeping with one, that's the answer they're gonna give. They're gonna tell you all women are beautiful, blah 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 blah. Black men who are serious about they only got eyes for black women are going to specifically tell you, I love black women. They will never talk to you about other women. Anytime you hear them say all women and be fetishizing sort of like women of other like races, that's how you know. I'm telling you, telltale sign. And it's just like on the opposite side, the YT men will what's the one thing they tell you? They have something that's like akin to I love all women, but it's different. That tell you that they only like black women. But I can't think of what it is right now. But you can clock it every single time. So I just
Yeah.
would say that. And if you're gonna ask them questions, just don't ask direct questions that are like, do you like white women? Have you ever saw?
Look at
Don't
their
ask them
Instagram
questions.
follow list, because I know a guy, all his kids are black, but his Instagram follow list, he's lusting after the highest yellow, whitest women. And I'm just like, okay. But he told me he loves black women, which is crazy to me. Like,
Well, it's important also, Queen, to recognize that like the environments in which a lot of these individuals grow up in also play a role into whether or not they embrace like pro-black relationships. Like that's something that I've definitely seen. Like I used to be there was a coworker of mine who was like, well, I'm not going to say where we both worked, but I'll just say there was an investment firm. And so the first thing I'm thinking of is like, oh my gosh, another black man who is working at this investment firm. This is great. You know, we'll be able to network, have a conversation. This is dope. You know, it's rare that I see that, but also he's emulating a sense of who it is that I was attempting to be at the time. I was trying to be a financial advisor, and so we eventually like became good friends, but I started to see a lot of anti-black sentiments that he was doing. And he would pursue a lot of women that were 99.99% of the time not a part of the black community. And then I started to find out that he was adopted by a YT family. And then I started to find out that he grew up in a predominantly YT community. And then I started to find out that the majority of the people that he hung out with, that he grew up with, were YT. And so then that's when I started like seeing that, like, oh, okay, that played a role into the type of perspective that you have and the things that you think is as normal, and your disassociation with your Africanity, and then having more of a negative association with that. And then anytime we'd have a conversation about trauma related to black people, or anytime we'd have a conversation about atrocities that have been committed against black people, the first thing that would come out of his mouth is like, oh, okay, well, I mean, you know, like, what about the Chinese? They had this, and what about this group of people? What about this? And he would go down the list of everybody else. And the first thing I thought of was just like, okay, like that makes sense coming from where you grew up. Like I see now, like all of those perspectives and all those points look like they very much so came from your parents, or from the two people that you called your parents. So yes, I definitely do think that there is a portion of black men that, or black people, that when you're raised in certain environments, you do actually emulate or try to emulate or assimilate. And I think someone mentioned that in the comments, to the culture that you have been indoctrinated to be around. So, you know, that's why psychologist Dr. Rita Walker wrote down in her book, The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health, that an important thing to do is to, I think she got, okay. Well, I'll just finish my thing.
Yeah, she dropped.
Gotcha. An important thing to do is to have your black family living in a predominantly black space, because that's going to help you uplift and recognize more of a sense of black community, as well as seeing more of black excellence around you, more opportunities of engaging with black love, and seeing the dynamic from a black community perspective, rather than okay, I'm the outsider trying to assimilate into a white tea community, and now that the black community is telling me that I need to assimilate with them, I'm already like 20 years in trying to assimilate with the YT community. So now me trying to go over to the black community, it's going to be, you're not going to really know how to be able to get in with your own people, because you're still going to be operating off the dynamics of that YT community that you spent the beginning of your life with. And, it creates a dynamic that is not necessarily needed, that is not needed for, that it creates more harm than it does good for black people. And that's something Dr. Rita Walker kind of mentioned in her book. But
Can you,
yeah.
Timothy? Can you, Brother Legend, your mic is out. Timothy, can you repeat the title and the author of the book for the audience? Somebody was asking.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. It's called The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health by Dr. Rita Walker. I'll also type it in the comments.
All right. Appreciate you sharing that knowledge with us, brother. We're gonna go to the next guest. Trish, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Age, really? Old,
Age
probably the
range.
old 50 to 60.
All right.
Pronoun, her, and what was the other question, sir?
Race.
Black.
All right. Sounds good.
As you can see by my photo, I'm the product of what we're discussing here. My father is Nigerian. My mother is
You
German.
can't tell that by your photo. There's monoracial people that's light skinned.
Gotcha. So my father is Yoruba. If you're familiar with Yoruba Africans, they're fairly light, as they were the first colonized right there on the coastline of Africa. So my father was fairly
I never
mid-tone
heard
brown.
that.
Yeah, they're
Yoruba?
coastline people. They're
Wait, so
Yorubas
you're talking about in Nigeria?
in Nigeria. So my father's Nigerian Cameroon, which is right on the coast right there. So they were the first colonized Africans
I've
right
never
there.
heard that, sister. I don't know if that's true.
Might not be.
I'm
Okay.
gonna have to give you some pushback there, but go ahead.
Okay. So my father's a brown skinned man, and then he married my mother. So you end up with me, and I have a couple of siblings who are slightly darker. But I don't date out. I haven't in my 5 decades plus, and I'm not a supporter of interracial relationships, and I feel for interracial children, including myself. I mean, I grew up in a house where my father was military. He was gone a lot. The white parent was the primary caregiver, and so I lived in a house that was filled with her white culture, which meant she straightened my hair, she bleached my skin, white Jesus on the wall, white holidays celebrated, no black music, no black food, no black church, no black friends. Despite being in a mixed neighborhood, it took till high school really for me to really make a lot of friends and to get more integrated with people that were more like me. And it wasn't until at 16 I had a problem with my parents and they shipped me to stay with my father's family that I finally, found myself, I guess you could say. They stopped processing my hair. You start learning about your people, you start appreciating your blackness, and but I still look the way I do. So I catch a lot of pushback here on TikTok. It's almost like you can't look like me and be pro-black. I don't know if there are people here who feel that the product of those relationships can't be pro-black by themselves.
Pro-black is in the mind, not how you look. Pro-black is your mindset. So when you get rejected from when you get rejection or pushback from the black community, it's usually not because of your phenotype, but more likely your mindset. It would be about your phenotype when we're having discussions about colorism. In that scenario, more melanin, more power. That means that people that are more melanated than yourself get more power to speak on how they're discriminated against, and how anti-blackness affects them. You're not to speak over them because you come from a more privileged place. I'm not saying that you're less black or less oppressed. Well, I would say your oppression is just different. So that being the case, you don't want to speak over someone in a place where you have privilege. You're a more palatable version of blackness to the oppressor. It's not saying that you still, don't feel the effects of anti-blackness, but
And and there's
yeah.
slightly a different type of grace given. For a couple of my mutuals that filtered through, the most controversial live I was ever in happened accidentally around me because there was a woman in the box above me who actually had a white spouse, but she felt that her children were more black than I am, despite um, being the same mixture. And I agree with her to the context of, since she's the primary caregiver in the home, they're getting much better exposure. So I agree with her in that context. But the fact that she kept screaming, white girl the entire time and stopped calling her a black woman, she was saying, in my house, the biracial children who have this parent are called this, and the biracial children who have this parent are called this. And she delineates that according to which vagina the child came out of.
And on my live, I hear people tell me I'm not African. People tell me that I'm not black. I'm just a human. I've had people call me white because I played electric guitar. Again, it's about your mindset. Um, I don't let any of that deter me from being who I am and having knowledge of self. Um, so, I would just say don't internalize it, and also understand that where that sister was speaking from is a place of pain. That's coming from a real place. Biracial people have been weaponized against black people in our communities. As we've strived for progress, a lot of them try to bring their white tea parents to the cookout, and it's been heavily problematic. You understand that biracial brothers and sisters used to literally sell our darker skinned brothers and sisters out when they would try to make an escape off the plantation. So a lot of that we're seeing is the epigenetics that has been passed down in our culture, where biracial brothers and sisters have done a lot of harm in the community as well, or have been harmful to progress. And some brothers and sisters are just not ready to heal from that yet. And you
So
being in a more
I agree
privileged
with that.
place, I would
I
say
agree.
just take it. Don't change. Don't let them define who you are, but just understand where it's coming from and move on. You know what I'm saying?
So I agree with those things 100%. I would like to add though that biracial people do face a certain amount of exploitation by our own in our community as well. Each time we use them as a tool, like Rosa Parks, who was used to replace a darker skinned sister as the face for the bus movement,
How was that
Angela
oppression?
Davis, etc. All those
How was that
places where
oppression?
they no,
How
not
was that
no, not
exploitation?
so I'm not saying oppression, certainly not oppression,
How
but
was that exploitation?
I'm not saying they were exploited either. I'm saying they were used as tools because they were a more
Yeah,
palatable face. Yes.
right. So yeah, we can weaponize their ability to exist in places where our more melanated brothers and sisters can't, as a way to let our voices be heard through them. The ancestors used to have a saying, "Don't be a waste of yellow." So what they mean by that?
Absolutely, sir.
All right.
Agreed, sir.
So then weaponize it. There ain't nothing wrong with that. You know.
I can't even tell you how many times, Trish, like even growing up as a teenager, how I've literally had to weaponize my proximity to whiteness, like it to protect my more melanated friends, my more melanated brothers and sisters, my more melanated family. Like that is a real legitimate thing. And that's why personally I feel as though that, especially as a person who is a mixed race African, it is our responsibility to utilize that weapon every single opportunity that we get to be able to open doors and to be able to break down barriers and to be able to defend our more melanated brothers and sisters. Like Because at the end of the day, there's just some things that we will be given access to and that we will be given privy to, or certain assumptions that we will automatically be given, positive assumptions that our more melanated brothers and sisters just will not. So it is unimaginably important that we use that against the system in order to then create those opportunities for our own people. Because at the end of the day, you black, you are a black.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. I think those things are very hard though when I'm held at arm's length based on my appearance.
Understood. Well,
It makes it harder.
That's because you're seeking acceptance, and that's another thing that's part of
Of,
the
of course we
biracial
want to be loved
trauma.
by our people. We all want to
No,
be loved by our own people.
well, but see, Queen,
no, but
the
see,
thing is that
biracial people tend to seek that acceptance because they feel like they're not accepted, obviously, clearly, from the non-black side of them. They are clearly not accepted there. They yearn for that, but then they get around brothers and sisters and they have to understand that they are more privileged in a system that oppresses darker skinned, more melanated Africans. So they see their reaction to how they've been treated in this oppressive system as less than even a lighter skinned African, and they immediately say you're not accepting me. But one thing about black folks I know for certain is no matter what skin color you are not 100% going to feel accepted by black people. We don't do that, and conflict is part of our culture. That's another thing that a lot of biracial brothers and sisters don't understand is that
I can appreciate
conflict
that.
is part of our culture. In European culture, conflict is always associated with violence. That's how they do it. They created the duel. They 10 paces, turn, pow. That's their conflict. That's how they bomb villages in World War II each other. They do all of that, right? Our people, we have conflict to come to a resolution. And that's why I say, brothers and sisters, when we see something we don't like in our community, we will make things like TikTok. If you go on a lot of pro-black or just people that claim to be pro-black, a lot of platforms on here of black creators, you will see there's a lot of debating going on because that's part of our culture. That's what we do. We argue with each other until we come to a consensus. Everyone might not agree, but most of us will come to a consensus. That's where John Henry Clark says we're the ones that created democracy. That it was co-opted by the Greeks and the Romans, but in our ancient cultures, you have this same thing, a back and forth. We created battle rapping. We created playing the dozens. So teasing each other, making fun of each other, pushing back on the weak spots to get you stronger and solidify your identity a little bit more. This conflict is natural to us. That's part of our culture. So when you come from a parent who's taught you that that's aggressive, that's violent, that's because they're going from the European idea of conflict. And so you have to be more intentional in understanding that it's different in our community.
exactly.
I appreciate that, especially since the primary caregiver in my house was one or the other. And it doesn't help that my father very obviously chased proximity to whiteness. And I appreciate your discussion earlier on how that gets repeated in families because all my father's brothers have repeated the same behavior. The sisters have not, but all of the brothers have.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, did she answer all the questions?
Was there
I'm not
something I
sure.
missed?
No, I think you did get them all right. Did you say I think you touched on everything. We kind of went through them. Appreciate you coming up, and I'll go to the next guest. Thank you, sister.
For having me.
All right, one love. D, what's going on, Queen?
Holy Spirit activate. I've been listening. I was busy. I was dealing with 9 people.
Non-people, who you with?
The aliens and whatever that other person told you he was.
The Nephilims. Well, he said Nephilim.
Oh my
Something.
God. I was sitting there like, what's really going on today on Brother Legend Live? They too turned
Crazy.
up.
Right.
I was gonna activate. Hold on, y'all. Let me put my food down. In Jesus' name, let's take a sip of Sprite together. Y'all ready?
You need a sip of ginger ale over there talking about Sprite.
Hey. Mind your manners.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit, activate. Watch y'all. Watch Tia little stuff come in. Holy Spirit, activate. Activate. Holy Spirit, activate. Hello, and welcome in. Welcome in, Negroes and friends. Welcome in. Have a seat. Join us. We're here to discuss the foolery, the poolery, and the baffoolery. You guys, I just want to know, you've entered Brother Legends Live, and I need to know, while you're here in Brother Legends Live, why, oh why, have you not donated to Bringing Down Babylon? I need to know why you haven't sent $1, $2, $10, hell, $1,000. It's a tax write-off at the end of the day. But most importantly, why haven't you subscribed to Brother Legends Live here and on YouTube? And make sure you share the live with all the poons, foons, and baffoons today. While everybody else is tapping, y'all need you to tap, dance over and share the live. Invite everyone. Hold on, bringing it back. But most importantly, go ahead and join Discord, b1initiative.org, where you can learn to be great. All right, y'all need to tap up because we need 100K. But while you're tapping up, I'm tapping out. All right, until we meet again, get in the bathtub, friends.
Appreciate you, Queen. Shout out to everybody that's joined the Discord. You're gonna start seeing me show a lot more favor towards those that have chosen to unify with us in the Discord. This is the year of organizing. This is the year of unity. We are in an election year. This is the year where we're supposed to come together. And I'm encouraging all Pan-Africans, especially, to hop in the Discord, b1initiative.org. The link is in my bio. And also, if you want to donate, $ Bring Down Babylon. That is our nonprofit that we're building. It's more than just a nonprofit, though. It's a community and a resource for brothers and sisters to teach our children moving forward more about our history and who we are as a people. All right, so we're going to move on to the next guest, Black Swan. Oh, wait. Yeah, you can go ahead, Black Swan. I think I skipped over Timothy. I'm going to come back to you, brother.
I am 33. I'm Black, and my pronouns are she, her. Peace to you, Brother Legend. How you doing?
Peace.
So I think a lot of times when we talk about interracial relationships, I just feel like, and then being problematic, I think it's really important that we understand like the psychological aspect of it. And, like I was on a panel yesterday and I was listening into another panel yesterday. They were talking about, it could be successful if that YT parent actually does learn the culture, learn the history, and try to gain an understanding of how to raise their Black children.
How in the
Yeah. See
yeah.
I'm thinking about it and I'm like, it's so rare that we see that, right? And let's say that does happen, we still live in a very anti-Black society, right? Like there was a different, on that same live that I was listening into, there was a different person that had gotten up on the panel and they were talking about, I think it was a grandmother. She was YT and I think maybe she got custody of her daughter. Her daughter's YT, custody of the children who are biracial. This woman's page was filled with like Trump supporting stuff, right? And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, of all of the harm that she's going to cause psychologically to those children, because she is, I'm going to say it, she's bigoted. She's real bigoted, like her mentality was, right? But, and she she was like, oh, well, won't they just learn about themselves like in school? Like it's not a priority to them. Like even when I was sitting there trying to think about it, I'm like, okay, so we're, we came up with the hypothetical of what if that YT parent actually does the work. But you can't, it's like, I can't even really wrap my head around it,
Mm.
And then we get a guest up on the, up on the panel, and I'm listening, and that's what she says. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's insane, like she doesn't realize that she's going to be harmful towards her grandchildren. And she's sitting there, telling people that she loves them, but she doesn't understand the harm that she's going to cause. So I just think it's so important that we understand, like, because the fact that we live in an anti-Black society, right? There's going to be a lot of unpacking that's going to need to happen in the household, but outside of the household as well. And a lot of times we hear certain stories of where they have to, it's when they get away from that YT parent, when they start to have those realizations, or when they get older and they start to take control of their own life, they start to have those realizations. Sorry,
Mm.
they start to have those realizations and be constantly questioned by society. And I feel like if you're not sturdy in understanding who you are and what's great about your Blackness, right? Because a lot of times the YT parent, what they're trying to learn is protection. And I think that tends to be, if they are putting in the work, I think that's as far as they go. They
Mm.
can't understand and identify how amazing it is to be Black, right? Because you don't want to identify your Blackness with, you know what I'm saying? Like the negative aspects of it, or how we're treated and things like that. You have to know what you're facing in the world, but it's important for us to know our history, like the accomplishments that we've had, right? And to know all of it. And I think that I just don't see a YT parent or even an interracial, I just don't see that happening. I think it's
Yeah.
very, very rare. So I feel like the psychological aspect is like, it's just crucial that people really understand what that does. That was
Mm-hmm.
really all. That's all I wanted to add. But I just wanted, like, because I feel like we talk about the money, we talk about those things, and then even the dynamic between the two partners, when arguments come up or conflict comes up, it's not going to be resolved the same way. Just because of the way that society is, with Blackness having to constantly yield to YTness. You know what I mean? It's an it's
Mm-hmm.
an it's an added, it's a dangerous added element to that dynamic between partners. So, and I think that that's, how can you cultivate a strong bond and a strong love, you know, with that, living in an
Mm-hmm.
anti-Black society?
I heard that. I heard that. That was a word, sister. Thank you for bringing that to the conversation. Um, as always, Black Swan dropping gems. That's an important conversation to have. Somebody down in the comments has caused quite a ruckus, quite a wuckus. You know what I'm saying? Down in the comments, saying, "I want a black one just for me."
Oh, what a
He said, "I want a black one."
unclean wench. Like y'all be doing the most.
Hey yo.
That is literally, like, when I hear stuff like that, it makes me want to run so fast in the other direction. I don't even feel like you view me as human, right? Like, we already know our history. A black one?
A black one.
That's scary to me. What's the analogy that you always give when you talk about, is it Jason coming
Nah, it
after
was.
you?
I don't know. Nah, they probably muted her now. She gone.
You know what's funny, brother?
Yeah.
Today is when Black men, I know a lot of Black men that like to hear YT women say, I only date Black men. And y'all don't understand how that used to be like the thing to say. If you want to date a Black man, it's like, I only date Black men. And it's this funny dynamic when you think about it, because it's like, you're okay with, on so many levels, being not only like tokenized and fetishized, but like you've put this woman in a realm where she looks at you as like this object that she can pick up and play with. And it's this weird dynamic where you have these people really out here thinking that we are something that can be purchased. That's some slave shit. Like they putting y'all back on the chopping block. I want a black one just for me. Like she can buy one.
For real. Like, it sounded like she was literally at a store and she was sifting through the different aisles and found a black section and was like, ooh, I like what I found. That's exactly what that sounds like. It sounds like she was at a slave auction block and she saw something she liked and was like, hey, daddy, how much is that one? In the comments. Like, that is insane to me. And these are the type of white tea women that literally target black men. They target black men for that fetishization, in order to fulfill that fetishization, that desire to participate in blackness. That is a real thing. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was talking about how she had patients where they were white tea women that were actually looking to have black children with black men. Like, this is a real deep psychological thing. It's disgusting.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and talk to us about it, brother. It's your turn.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, King. Yeah. So, I guess I'll just start by answering the questions. Can interracial relationships be problematic? Yes, they absolutely can be. As you can tell, the comment very much so is just an example of that. At the end of the day, interracial relationships do not benefit the black community. They just don't. Historically, they don't. Even in ancient times, they didn't. They were actually used as tools to disrupt African civilizations and change shifting powers out of the hands of black people and into the hands of Europeans. So yeah, very problematic. Absolutely should not be encouraged.
This Negro, I'm sorry, Timothy, but
Oh,
this
no,
Negro just put in the chat, what's wrong with her, what them want some Mandingo? That was a slave, dude. Like, ooh, y'all be so dumb.
real. Like, listen, bro, if you have no problem with being treated as an object, then all right, go ahead and be treated as an object in their community. They have their little fetish groups. Go ahead and be the object of their fetishization. Go for it. Go right in there. And then when you end up being treated as an object, and then you have and they treat you with zero humanity, and then all of a sudden they start using you for every single thing that you got, and then you all of a sudden decide, like, hey, you know what? I don't really like this. I don't really like the vibe that they're giving. And you try to run back to the black community. Do us a favor. Don't. Just don't. Just stay exactly where you desire to be. If you desire to be an object and have your humanity completely disregarded, go for it. Go for it. But let's see. All right. So can a black woman slash a black man slash black woman marry white and still claim to be pro-black? No. I mean, no. Like, you just can't. Like, you can't spend your day talking about pro-black things and then spend the most intimate and most vulnerable moments of your day with the very people that are oppressing you. Like, that's just not possible. That you can't do that. Do interracial relationships benefit the black community? As I mentioned before, no. No, they do not. No. At the end of the day, what's being created is individuals who are very much so psychologically confused a lot of times, and a lot of times it requires them to do a lot of the unpacking and the work to recognize that they are a person of African ancestry, to recognize that they are black. And if you are a person who is a mixed race African and you grow up in a community that is not predominantly black, then good luck trying to actually embrace a black identity or have a positive association with your Africanity. And even the book that I mentioned before, Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health by Dr. Rita Walker, she very specifically stated in her book that in her experience, decades of being a psychologist, years of being a psychologist, she specifically stated that individuals who do not have a positive association with their blackness are more likely to commit self-unalivings. So just by you not having a positive association with your Africanity, a positive association with your blackness, with you as a black person, that literally means that your chances are greater that you would hate yourself so much to the point that you would consider self-unaliving more than anybody else. So these are real things. These are real psychological issues that are happening right now, and it is causing lives. And yeah, like it's insane to me to see individuals who normalize their fetishization like that woman did in the comment section. And at the end of the day, this society encourages it. I mean, there literally was a Broadway play, and I've mentioned this a couple times before on other lives, but for anybody who's brand new and listening to this, there was a Broadway play that was called Slave Play. And I'm not sure if it's still in still on Broadway, or if it's even still an option to even view in any other region. But slave play essentially it's a type of fetishization, or like a participation of, like, interracial couples will engage in reenacting the grapes of enslaved people during slavery, and they'll get sexual gratification from that. And the fact that they turn this into a Broadway play, and the fact that this is a growing so-called kink, yeah, like the amount of cognitive dissonance that you have to have in order to associate the grapes of your own ancestors, or the the grapes that were committed by your ancestors, as a form of sexual gratification, that is insane. That is literally insanity. And this society that we are living in, that everybody thinks is so fine and so normal, is encouraging that. That is a level of unimaginable, just like the unimaginable mental health crisis that we are facing. That's where we're at right now. I'll land my plane with that.
Hey, my wife gave me a sandwich, but I was listening to every word of that.
I was just about to say, what are you eating?
She gave me a chicken sandwich to banging. But nah, you definitely touched on a lot there, brother. Especially with the psychosis a lot of brothers are facing. And a lot of them don't know the history of Pataseca, Patasecca. Y'all can check him out. He was the ancestor that was forced to have over 100 kids in his lifetime. He was objectified in similar ways. So when y'all talk about that Mandingo stuff, some of y'all just don't know your history. And excuse me, we'll go on to the next guest. Emergency break. I was hungry, y'all. Emergency break. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, brother.
What's up, y'all? 34, black, he, him, they, them. I mean, just go down the list. How y'all doing?
Go ahead, family.
Can interracial relationships be problematic? Can I curse on this? I just want to say hell yeah. It's just because all the things y'all said earlier, all fetishism, like tokenism, and I feel like deep down, these low-fat milk people, like the community, they just want to get their parents upset. Oh, dad, mom, they don't like the black community. I'm gonna go date a black person. I think that's all it really boils down to. They want to use our bodies, use our minds, and take our children. That's what it boils down to. Can a black man, black woman marry white and still claim to be pro-black? No. Do interracial relationships benefit the black community? No. That's just it. If you're not black, don't mess with black community business. And y'all in these comments always got something to say, but you're not black. Just sit back and relax. Like, it's crazy. That's all I wanted to say. That's really it.
I heard that. All right. Appreciate you adding that to the conversation. Emergency break. Let's go to the next guest. Cardi, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Hey y'all, I'm back. It's Cardi. I'm 20 years old, soon to be 21, legal age. I identify with he, him, she, her, they, them pronouns because you can't misgender me. I'm just that baddie, and I am black.
All right, speak to us, family.
Can interracial relationships be problematic? They are problematic. They are problematic. First of all, you will never, ever, ever, ever in a million years, ever in life catch me dating my oppressor. You will never catch me dating the person that has put chains on my community. You will never, ever, ever see that happening. Which leads me into, can black men or black women that marry Wahite people still claim to be pro-black? No, you can't. How can you talk about being pro-black, and how can you claim to be pro-black and love the same person and share intimate moments with the same people that put shackles on you and your community till this day and have for years? How can you want to be free from those chains, but yet you're in love with those chains? It doesn't make sense. Do interracial relationships benefit the Black community? No, they harm the Black community. Interracial relationships are actually a tool commonly used throughout history to negatively impact the Black community. Actually, interracial marriages, planned weddings were used to harm the Black community, to strip Black people from those positions of power. And it was all a part of a strategic plan to get us away from those positions of power, to infiltrate Black communities. So it's been nothing but harmful. It's nowhere near beneficial, and it shouldn't happen. You can't. If you're in the Black community and you are dating outside the Black community, you're dating these Wahite people, I honestly would have to say that you have some unpacking you got to do yourself.
I heard that. All right.
Do you mind
You
if I
landing your
answer the
plane there?
question in the comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Someone asked if I'm biracial. Yes, I am biracial, but I am Black.
I heard that. Standing 10 toes, man. Shout out to the biracial Africans. I'm sorry, not biracial. What do you call them? Mixed race or biracial Africans, right? Am I tripping? Biracial African. I don't like mixed because that makes y'all sound confused when y'all know who you are. Feel me?
Yeah, I was about to say I'm not no identity crisis. I mean, you
I heard that. I heard that. Shout out to the Black biracial brothers and sisters. What was that, Timothy?
Oh yeah, no, I was saying that Dr. Umar Johnson, I think at one point coined the term mixed race African. Like he said a couple different terms, but I think the most recent one was mixed race African. But like it's either yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but he says that, but then he'll also say there's no such thing as a mixed race African. Right. So he'll say both, But either way, man, y'all know who you are, and those that stand 10 toes with the community, man, much love to y'all. This live has inadvertently been about brothers and sisters standing in it. So I think that's important for a lot of even monoracial brothers and sisters to hear. Like I said earlier, our biracial family members have been weaponized against us. And then it's just part of division, putting us against each other. The lighter skin versus the darker skin, fighting over resources. The lighter skin might get better job opportunities, but still never given that leadership role. Still, only seen as beneath those that wield privilege. But the darker skinned brothers and sisters might see that and see how it's weaponized and feel resentment towards that, and that's something where we got to understand the nature of the environment that we're in. Like me I'm not I'm monoracial, but there is up in my family tree there's a bunny up there, and I didn't find that out till I was 27. But anyway, what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so there's a documentary where Michelle Obama goes to Africa with Barack, and when she gets there, Barack Obama, who's biracial, says that the African people in Kenya was calling her white. And that was the first time he ever seen a monoracial person get called white, but they call her white because she's from America. And that's what when we say more melanin, more power, we don't only mean your phenotype and how you look. We mean your proximity to Africa as well, because what makes us Black people is not just our brown skin. It's also our Africanness and our proximity to that. So, even me as an African American, when my African brothers or sisters are speaking up about how they're treated and mistreated by, the same oppressive power structure, it is not my turn to talk over them. I see us African Americans do this a lot, or American Africans rather. I see us do this a lot. We are not to be speaking over our Haitian, Caribbean brothers and sisters on how they're oppressed. We in the diaspora hold a seat at the top closest to our oppressors' resources. I'll say it again. We, as as American Africans, sit the closest to the resources of our oppressor. That being the case, we should not be speaking over those in the diaspora that have a closer proximity to Africa, African culture, whether they live on the land or just the fact that they participate more in the culture. Caribbean people are less disconnected from African culture than us American Africans. So that being the case, I would just say don't be so quick to speak over them because y'all be sounding crazy sometimes. I'll be like, man, it's okay. They might treat you with a little bit of hostility. They might not all rock with you. It's okay because you understand you don't have cognitive dissonance. We're being put against each other. We're being pit against each other, and you know that they're speaking from a place where they might not understand things the same way. But then there's also those. We got Marcus Garveys. We got, Thomas Sankaras. We got Kwame Nkrumahs. We got PLO Lumumbas, and we got Julius Malemas. So they there. Like there are those that understand what's going on, but understand that everybody's not gonna feel that way. So more melanin, more power, definitely. Appreciate y'all giving us this word, man. I got some more people that want to come up. I'm gonna let someone up. Oh, we gonna let Africa Debunked in. Africa Debunks, what's going on, brother?
How you doing, my brothers? Very interesting conversation today.
Yes, sir.
Been doing some very interesting things, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna give him a chance to introduce himself. I think he might have got a call or something. But I definitely want to be talking to these FBA ADOS folks. Oh my goodness. I didn't know it was this. I got on Twitter and I didn't know. I heard people talking about diaspora wars, this and diaspora wars. I got on Twitter and the way some of y'all be just strutting and kneeling and groveling in the mire for this approval from massa is nasty work. Oh my goodness, the way some of the they're not African. They foundational Black Americans, some of y'all American
Crazy.
descendants of slavery be groveling in the mud for approval from master. It's nasty. Y'all gotta stop. It's really secondhand embarrassment at this point.
Yeah, the FBA stuff on some of the on Twitter and /X, whatever it's called, is insane. The shucking and jiving and twerking from, oh my god. It's so it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. But I think a lot of that rhetoric is the final culmination of like the kind of the mental state that a lot of us are in. And it's exactly what you said. A lot of us think just because, especially those of us who are in Europe or in America, think that because of our proximity to like the oppressor and the oppressor's stolen wealth, we think that it makes us better and smarter than other Black people who are not in as close proximity. So just because you live in America, or just because you live in the UK or in France or in a developed country, and you think, oh, I'm because I have more access to money or more access to wealth, I must be smarter and better. I must be doing things that the Africans and the Caribbeans don't understand. And you're like, no, bro, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. That is not how it works. And like, I think a lot of people think that like they have something, you have something fundamental to like this kind of savior complex where because I'm an American, I can go over to Africa and I can teach the Africans because they've never thought about liberation. They've never thought about economic liberation. They've never thought about, they just need to put aside their tribalism and like, fuck, come on, man, use your common sense, man. And just like, I think a lot of it is just like, but yeah, I think it's the final culmination of like, and a lot of it, unfortunately, is especially with like these kind of I have to call them what they are. These online cults that are very prevalent on Twitter and X, is that it feels like the final boss of American exceptionalism, where oh no, we're the chosen black people. So like, yeah, of course of course we're better than all the other black people. Of course, all the other black people are the problem, and of course, all of them want to be us, and like really and truly, and like it's insane. Like it's insane because some of the stuff you see is such a rewriting of history. It's such a rewriting of history. Like this idea that like we're the only ones who've been doing Pan-Africanism, we're the only ones who've been doing the work, and like we're tired, our backs are tired. And I'm like, and it's often from the people who've done nothing in the community. The people who do F all in the community, the people who have no history of doing anything. Suddenly, like this person that nobody knows, nobody can vouch for you, no one in your local community can say anything about what you've done. You don't have any track record, but you have the audacity and the gall to come online and say like, oh, my back hurts. What? Brother Legend, one of the most crazy, like this is where I deleted my account because I was just like, I was feeding into like, it was making me angry at like other black, and I've never felt like that before in my entire life. And the straw that broke the camel's back was that I can't be on this platform was when I saw that foundational cult where they were saying stuff like, the problem is the Africans, because why didn't the Africans during slavery, why didn't they send their armies to come and liberate us? I said, what? Has nobody here ever opened a history book? So whilst the Africans were being colonized by global superpowers, they were supposed to somehow undo their like right after their independence, they were supposed to send an armada from Africa to the most advanced military that has ever existed in human history, and somehow liberate Black Americans, and somehow we're supposed to have this like transoceanic army. Like, where are these boats coming from? Where is this military coming from? Where is this military capacity coming from to liberate Black Americans? Like,
I had a discussion with the founder of ADOS on Twitter. Really was my first day on Twitter. I've been spreading this platform out because I don't want it to exist only on TikTok. Pan-African propaganda needs to be everywhere. And again, I encourage, this is the year of organizing. I encourage any other Pan-Africans to join me. B1initiative.org. The link is in my bio. Join me. Let's spread this Pan-African knowledge. Let's spread this Afrocentrism to our brothers and sisters. It is time to come together and do something this year. If you are not doing something this year, I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent, but this is the most important thing that's been at the front of my mind. And I feel like I've been focusing on getting the message out, and I haven't been calling for organization enough. Y'all gotta stop just coming on TikTok and talking. We got to get together. We got to get together off of this app. This app is just built for entertainment. This is not just for entertainment purposes. This is for unification of our people. Just being in the room with like-minded people will inspire you. You will be inspired. You will have new ideas. You will learn new things. B1initiative.org is a community where we are doing just that. and so much more. Anyway, I had this conversation with the lady from ADOS, and I find that it's interesting how many American Africans will listen to music by ex-drug dealers, but then will turn and use that same narrative of African people sold us. I think that's disingenuous and hypocritical, because the reason why, and that's the thing, it lacks all context, right? All nuance misses ignorant people, right? Because they're trying to they only look at facts to validate what they already feel, instead of
Because
looking at facts over
because
feeling.
they're working back from their conclusion. They've already concluded
Right.
that they hate other groups of black people, and then
Right.
they're and then they're working back from that. So the conclusion has already been made. So everything that their narrative is always, the conclusion has already been decided. So they're picking and choosing a narrative to make sure, like tailoring a narrative to get to where they've already decided they wanted to get to.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like the same way in which a system that planted these D-rugs in our community and then created laws to make it illegal, and then we got the 94 crime bill, which directly impacted our people more than anyone else. Same way that system weaponized, but while also disenfranchising and monetizing us selling D-rugs in the detriment to the detriment of our own community. So the D-rugs are bad for the community because, brothers and sisters are leaving their children to go do this stuff. We are selling it to ourselves because it was planted. None of us knew how to go to Colombia and get this. There's plenty of evidence of CIA intervention and them bringing that into our communities and all this other stuff. But then, so we can look at that as a systemic issue, but then not take notice at how the slave trade, even though there were Africans who were bribed and put in charge to participate in it, that they did not create the environment that made the selling of black bodies profitable. That they had a choice to make, just like that man on the street corner has a choice to make. We're not giving you all jobs. We're not giving you all black men jobs. So how you going to survive out here? Are you going to sell this to your community so that you can eat? Or we going to sell it to your community, or we'll have somebody else sell it in your community and you just won't eat. You know what I'm saying? And then in Africa, it's like the same thing. It's like, here, we're going to give y'all pew-pews to go sell us your cousin. Well, they didn't see themselves as cousins, but to sell us your neighbor, we'll give y'all pew-pews, or we'll give them pew-pews to sell you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, do you do what's in your best interest at that moment? Or, and then the reason why you have to think for your self-interest in that moment is because there's a hostile environment taking place where if you don't choose wisely, you're going to be affected by it. So that's why I think it's problematic. I made that correlation to the ADOS lady. She acted like she couldn't tell what I was talking about, and she, cognitive dissonance got her. So, but
She bought and paid for.
A lot of people
She,
have never been taught the actual narrative of what happened during during slavery, of like what happened during slavery. It was an art. The Europeans triggered an artificial arms race. You've got the African environment where like pew-pews do not exist, where people have more rudimentary weaponry, and you've flooded that place with pew-pews. And now, all it takes to destabilize entire regions is just one group to start trading pew-pews with the colonizer. Just one. You can have 100 different peacefully coexisting groups, and just one of the groups needs to get their hands on pew-pews, because then then everybody's safety is now, once one group has pew-pews, everybody's safety is dependent on their goodwill. Because if I have a pew-pew, I can come and take your things regardless of anything, however you feel, whatever our relationship is. Once I have my hands on projectile weaponry that can kill you from 20 feet away, it's no longer a question of me being able to defend myself. It's if you've got pupils and I don't, like my safety is based on your goodwill. And like, brother legend, if you are the head of a tribe and your priority is like the protection of your tribe, you have to get your hands on pew-pews. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like we can talk about like of course like in 2023, like obviously we have a more global context of like of what we're going through. But if you're living 300 years ago and like you're the leader of some African tribe and your priority is the protection of your tribe, and like the tribe to your east and the tribe to your west are getting their hands on pew-pews, and now you're saying wait, these people are stocking military weaponry like that can that can end the existence of me and everyone in my tribe. And now and the only place to get pew-pews are the Europeans who are saying, hey, I will sell you them pew-pews, but we gonna need you to make some of those slave raids because we only want one thing for those pew-pews. And like you need to understand that an artificial arms race that the Africans didn't create. We didn't create pew-pews. We'd lived in Africa for thousands of years. Like somebody put a product into the African market that created absolute chaos, and that meant that everybody's safety was dependent on their access to that one product. And like, unless you understand the full context of what happened, like it's really like you're always gonna think, oh yeah, Africans just like it was just it's the myth of African greed, as in as being the fuel of the slave trade, as opposed to like no, an arms race was kicked off. An arms race was kicked off by Europeans who were flooding the African market with a projectile weapon that meant that hey, no one is safe anymore. No one is safe unless they get their hands on these weapons. All the while, the Europeans were stockpiling and holding back their most advanced pew-pew, which was the Gatling gun, which they said, hey, let these people kill themselves with the older versions of our pew-pews. And when they finished destabilizing their regions and selling off massive amounts of their people because of this arms race that we're fueling, oh yeah, we're gonna hit them with a Gatling gun and colonialism. Don't worry.
Wow.
It is one big con. It's a one long con. And like and like people like when you get people in 2023 who have all the access to the internet and all the access to information, who still want to make these rudimentary understandings of the transatlantic slave trade, it tells you that their heart is not in the right place, or like they're just too ignorant to be leaders in our community. Like if you're not willing to do the reading, then you should really just shut up. Honestly, if you're not willing to do the work and you're not willing to really understand the context, you should shut up, because like we can all understand like why like people who are born into like gang warfare join gangs. Like we can understand like somebody, yeah, if your dad and your granddad was a Crip, if you grew up in an environment where the Bloods came and shot your older brother, shot your older cousin,
be careful, brother.
Oh, sorry.
Words.
Sorry. But if you grew up in a neighborhood where the Bloods came and unalived your cousin, unalived your brother that you loved, unalived like a bunch of your friends, like we can all understand why people join like rival gangs for safety and like for retribution, and like because your safety is dependent on your capacity to join a group a violent group a violent group that is able to protect you from another violent group. Like I think it's just, but I think, as I said, a lot of people, Brother Legend, they're working back from their conclusion. They've already concluded that they hate Africans, they hate the Africanity, they hate the Africanness within themselves, and they blame the Africanness within them. They've drunk the Kool-Aid. They believe. Unfortunately, Brother Legend, a lot of our people, deep down, they believe everything that the white team man has told them. They believe that we're inadequate. They believe that we were swinging off the monkey bars in Africa. They believe that they believe that they are the select few Africans that were able to escape through the benevolence of the white team man, and they believe all of it. They believe all of it. So and they're projecting that hatred at anything that looks African. So, like, obviously, so they project that hatred on Pan-Africanism. They hate that. They project that hatred on Caribbean people. They project that hatred on Africans because deep down they believe every single lie and propaganda that the whitey man has told them throughout the history of America.
And here's the reason why. And me and my wife have spoken about this. Thank you. First of all, thank you for that lovely breakdown. I even learned some of what you're saying about the Gatling gun. I'm gonna do some more digging into that, man. Shout out to this brother.
With the Gatling gun was nasty work. Nasty work.
You're teaching, brother. As always, dropping gems, man. What's I about to say? What's I about to say? I forgot now. But yeah, that American form of you said twerking. They be twerking for reparations. That is really an issue. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say, and I'm gonna come to you next, Tia, was one thing I know for sure. One thing for sure, two things for certain. ADOS and FBA ain't never, y'all hear me closely, never, they will never outnumber us Pan-African Garveyites. Big up to the Pan-Africans. And never do it. We, the African people, the African diaspora, they are who they are because of us, first of all, because there was a time in America where brothers and sisters didn't see themselves all as one group of people. They all looked at each other as different. They didn't know, they didn't have like the collective thoughts to say, oh, because we do kind of look the same and get treated the same. Like, yeah, I'm from that plantation, though, and you're from over there. You speak French, you speak Spanish. So there was a time where we didn't all just view each other the same. So the fact that they even have lumped themselves together is the work of Pan-Africanism. But let's say all of that. Let's say they achieve their highest numbers, right? And they get everyone in America to be xenophobic and anti-Black. They still will never, ever outnumber a global African movement. We are always going to outnumber them. Pan-Africanism is not an ideology. Actually, in the words of Kwame Ture, in the words of Stokely Carmichael, Pan-Africanism is a destination. Pan-Africanism is an objective. And our objective of unifying brothers and sisters of African descent will not be curtailed by some xenophobic Americans, by some self-hating Caribbean or brothers and sisters in the UK. None of that is going to outnumber a worldwide movement. We understand, because we're going to have Pan-Africans on every continent. We have Pan-Africans all over the world. So just anyone that gets discouraged hearing that argument, just understand that there's a reason why this is the largest liberation front for African people. And I'll land there. Tia, what's good, sister?
I've been in recent weeks really trying to remember when the whole "but Africans sold us" argument started, and I believe it was on Twitter, and I really believe it was around the time the trailer for A Woman King dropped, because people started digging into the Dahomey tribe. I could be wrong, but that's my earliest memory of it. And Delilah will tell you I have always talked about the context. I was so hyped when you said that, because I hate when people remove the context from something and then like try to carry on that point as if nothing else around it existed. And yes, it did happen, but like the context is important. Like a lot of people don't realize that slavery existed on the continent before the transatlantic slave trade, but that their concept of slavery, their practice of slavery was vastly different than the transatlantic slave trade. These were not people who they were not chattel slaves or chattel enslaved people. They could marry into the family that quote unquote enslaved them. They could move up in society. They were not really slaves the way that we know slavery. And that is very important context for people to understand. Like, it's not the same thing. And so even before some of the tribes had known what they were doing, the selling of those enslaved people didn't feel like what it ended up being, because they were already having slaves. So if somebody comes to you to barter for slaves that you already have and that you were already doing that bartering, what would clue you into the fact that they plan to pack these people up kidnap them and take them to another continent where they plan to do all these crazy things. That is why context is very important. And even though there, like I acknowledge, people who did know at some point what they were participating in, there were a lot of tribes that went to war to prevent people from being stolen. That is another part of the story that often does not get told. Like, they went to war, a lot of people were unalive. They tried and tried and tried to stop what had already gotten started. And as Africa Debunked mentioned, then pew pews were involved in the situation and they didn't have those. So it's literally bringing a knife to a pew pew fight. You're going to lose. And
Yeah,
yet these people
right.
tried to fight anyway. This is why the context is important. And Delilah will tell you, well, we used to be in them rooms. This is why, like, being Black on purpose is so important, because the way people used to, because we were fussing and fighting with these FBA and ADOS people all the time. And in their minds, the only Black people that exist in the world are ADOS and FBA people. Anybody outside of America, or who is quote unquote indigenous to America, is not Black. And so I used to always laugh to myself because nobody can shake my Blackness. Like, I know who I am and like how I was raised. And I know, regardless of what these people are saying, they're just uneducated and kind of radicalized in a way behind what I don't really know. But like, they're
I
radical.
know.
They're radicalized in a way that doesn't really move me. But if I was a different person that was looking for another Black person to tell me that I'm Black, to validate me, then I would have been undone by the things that they were telling me, that I'm not Black. They're literally telling me that I'm not Black. I'm like, well, what the hell am I? What the hell are the
And it's
rules?
funny because Tariq Nasheed just got called out. Somebody chewed him up in one of them Twitter spaces. I'm gonna start hosting Twitter spaces too, y'all. I'm not sure when, but if you want to check that out, check out my Twitter, Big Bro Legend, Big Bro BIGBROLGND, on Twitter. But he said something. They were going back and forth, and someone had asked him, "Are Canadian people, the Canadian Africans, or African, who were once African Americans that ran
Fled
away
up
from the
north.
plant? Yeah, like the ones that ran north. Are they FBA too?" And he said no. He said no one that's not in America. But he's like, but they built the country too. So you're saying just because they're not on the 1870 census that they're not. So that's basically saying that white tea people are the only people that determine who's Black and who's not. Like, this is getting
The
ridiculous
logic
now.
doesn't, yeah, when you stress test it, the logic falls apart. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to mention too, is because for some reason people have, oh, before I move on from like the continent situation, I went to Ghana for the year of the return, and I went to Amina Castle and like did the tour, which is
Mm.
both transformative and also very like, I found that a lot of people, a lot of Black people find it traumatic, but like, I felt like a calmness when I walked in there. And you can go into some of the areas where they were held before they walked through the door of the no return. And to me, like, there's a high spiritual energy in there. And it might sound dumb, but to me, it felt calming to me because like, those are our ancestors. Like, it's not going to be this, like, to me, a disturbing spirit the way it would be for other people. But to each his own. I say that to say
Mm.
that the people who do there's a guy there that does the tours that will give you a lot of the history of how not only the castles were built, how the Portuguese and whoever else came and did whatever they did, how they engaged with the tribes. He give you the whole rundown. There's videos of that tour on TikTok. So if you want to hear it from somebody who tells this history every day, look that up on TikTok. I
Hmm.
did it in real life, and it's worth hearing. But
Yeah.
aside from that, the other thing that I wanted to say was some of the things that frustrate one of the things that frustrate me when people talk about the transatlantic slave trade is that they make it like it was a linear experience. Like, they just went to the West Coast, they kidnapped these Africans, they brought them to the United States, which was actually the third stop, not the first stop, and that was the end
Right.
of that. That was not how this worked. It was a moving of property from the start to the finish. And I think that it was so important that you brought up, the question of the enslaved people who escaped to Canada, because whether it was people moving property around or people escaping, we were moved all around. That's how you got Africans back in Liberia. There's actually still to this day a town in Trinidad that is named after African American people. I think it's called America. They still live there. These are technically, they would be FBA people. I forgot how it was that they ended up there, but we all like, there are plenty of people that you will find in different parts of the world that have ancestry, like living family members that are in other parts of the diaspora.
Yeah.
And you
They
gotta
say
ask
that,
yourself, how did they get there? We were moved around. This was not a straight
right.
line. And I wish people understood that, because it would make some of these conversations wouldn't need to happen. And I'm not talking about the conversations you're happening, but like the diaspora war conversations, they're just dumb. And I'm not saying this to say that you can't have pride in where you grew up or what you know, your flag, whatever else, but you have to know kind of where that line ends, because at
I'll
the
tell
end of
you,
the day, we don't really know where we came from. All of us who are displaced, even those people on the continent, were displaced by the borders, by the shuffling of people. A lot of people do not know really where they came from. So it's like, have pride in what you know, where you come from, but know the limits of that, because of how our people were disturbed. And I'll land there.
your Jamaicanness came out right there, sister. Absolutely. And the reason I say that is because you said it's okay to have pride in your flag. And I'm going to tell you one thing about American Africans. I better not ever catch none of y'all having no pride in that flag. We don't do that. You know, we talked about it, I think, last week, how the Jamaicans were able to make their own flag. And, you know, for the most part, y'all got y'all, you know, y'all space. You know what I'm saying? We in America, you know what I'm saying? Y'all better not see y'all standing up at none of these ball games talking about oh say can you see? I don't want to hear. Nah, we don't do that. I wasn't even raised like that. From my ancestors, from my parents, we was never proud of that flag. I'm telling you now. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why it's wild that they'll call themselves Black Americans. Like, and then when you go on the websites for both ADOS and FBA, they got red, white, and blue all in the background. That is because they take money from grants given to them by the federal government to make these programs to tell you that you're not African. I'm waiting for I don't have the receipts. But
They
I
got rid of
feel
a lot of them. Remember, I told you their website had the Yvette Carnell was funded by one of the fathers of anti-immigration law. The receipts used to be on her
right.
website. They changed it because people was dragging them. They changed it and cleaned. They had a lot of very anti-Black rhetoric explicitly on their website. They changed it because people was dragging them for it. I don't even know if
Yeah.
I still have the pictures, but they was up there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let me go to the next guest real quick. They've been waiting so patiently. I forgot. I can't see the name. It's a bunch of emojis. R2 Certi.
Hello, that will be me. So I'm pretty uneducated, obviously, because I'm from the UK and I'm mixed race, and I don't really know a lot about.
All right, give us
I'm
All right, so
getting it. It's clicking slowly.
okay.
I just saw
Yeah,
the live topic.
give us your age, race, and pronouns for you proceed.
Yeah. So my age is 24. Race. Yo, I'm mixed, and it just yo. That's who I am. Yeah. Pronouns are he.
Mixed ain't a race.
Huh?
Mixed is not a race.
Mixed is not a race. Hold on. Let me roll that one back. Anyways, so the can interracial relations be a problem?
Well, hold on now.
Pardon?
Mixed is not a race. Give us your race.
Wait, British? Wait, what? I'm not white. Not the comments saying I'm white.
How do you see yourself?
Literally mixed, but come on. I'm not putting the cam up. I look like a friggin' crackhead right now. Mixed is what? Jamaican and English, bro. British.
We knew you was mixed with Black because only Black people say they mixed.
Yeah,
as a race.
True. This is the thing. Like, I've been following you for a while, and obviously, like, you for certain of like you've made me feel more proud about my Black side and stuff in it, because obviously I've been whitewashed as growing up, and that's the thing I wanted to talk about is the interracial relationships being problematic. Yeah,
You're an
okay.
example of that? Is that
The
what you're
comments are
trying to teach
popping
us?
off. Interracial. This might be a bit personal, but the way I see it is, a lot of these white folk, like, they sort of like, they like chase black people and like, you know, I want a mixed kid because, you know, a mixed kid looks better. This, and this, and then they'll birth this mixed kid, and then that's it. They won't know how to look after it. They won't know how to do their hair. Or they'll be whitewashed for life. That might be personal, but I've met a lot of many white folk. Don't get offended in the fucking comments, bro. But I've met a lot of white
Hey,
folk.
first of all right, calm down. You sound like you got some medicine you're supposed to take. You're talking way too fast. You're bouncing all over the place, and you're reading the comments while you're talking. So just talk to me. Don't look at the comments, and take your time.
Okay. So for me, like personally, like this may not be for everyone, but interracial relationships are not problematic as a whole. But you have the select few who like sort of, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? They like really sexualize it, and they're like, yeah, you know, I want a mixed kid because a mixed kid looks better than a white kid or a black kid, you know, a mixed kid. They really just, and it's like, yeah, you're saying that, but you know, you're gonna birth me, you're gonna whitewash me, and this and this. You know what I mean? Fetishized.
Fetishization
That's
is
the
the
word.
word to
Thank
look.
you. Period. Thank you. I literally forgot the word.
Okay. There's a lot of things you're saying. I don't think you should be up here. What does that have to? What are you trying to say? I don't even know what's going on right now.
I'm saying it's problematic because they're obviously, you know, is it not
It's
problematic?
problematic because because you brought up the children. So it's problematic because the children of the interracial relationship don't believe they black. They believe mixed is a race because they want to be. Hold on now. Shh.
You're shush.
Relax. They don't want to be black because they feel like their white mother rejects their blackness and they want to be close to their mother, like many of us do. Except their mother doesn't look at them and say, you are white like me. Their mother says, you are mixed. You are other than me. So now they feel that lack of closeness with their mother. They seek that validation, and society will also reprimand, vilify, disenfranchise, marginalize them because they have a black parent. While they still will not claim to be black, they are being punished for their proximity to blackness, making them even more likely to cleave to an identity that is anything but black, the thing that punishes them so much in society. That is when it becomes problematic, and you just showed us that in real time. So that's what makes it problematic for you to even talk now, because I asked you your race, and you said mixed. So you just showed us why you shouldn't be talking on this topic.
Jeez, fuck you then. Like, actually, fuck off.
You can leave.
Hold on.
You brought your extra drunk ass up here, goofy bitch.
But while you were talking,
I
Brother
think that's.
Legend,
I think.
she was
Oh,
sorry.
she's a perfect example of the confusion that, like, what happens when you just create children when you create children without thinking. Where this young lady has never really, probably may not even have like the capacity to understand, like her like if your white mum cannot share her whiteness with you, and she knows that she cannot share her whiteness with you.
I'm sorry,
And
I was trying to explain that point. I just don't know how to put it in words.
no, I get what you're
No,
saying.
I only brought her back up to block her. I didn't want her.
No, I get what she. I get exactly what that lady's going through, because like her mum cannot share her whiteness with her, and she has no access to to whiteness. And as Brother Legend says, she's punished, and her life experiences will be shaped by her blackness. But she also has a desire to run away from blackness, rather than say, hey, I'm stuck in this. How can I connect with other black people and navigate this properly? Like, there's also the confusion because but that's what happens when you create these children in these confused environments and they're not taught about their blackness. All the whilst anti-blackness is flogging them. And it's just, I think it's just sad. And a lot of people, a lot of people like your experiences, your experiences, especially in the UK, are not dictated because you're biracial. They're dictated because you have a black parent, and your experiences are dictated because you have inaccess to white privilege. And I think but then that is a lot of the things that a lot of biracial people go through. Like a lot in the UK, most biracial people don't end up with other black people. Most biracial people end up with white people because like they're trying their best to run away at full speed from their blackness rather than blame the what happens is rather than blame white supremacy and racism for the anti-blackness that they face, they blame the blackness. They say, oh, if I'm halfway there, if only I didn't have this blackness holding me back, I could be like the rest of society. And rather than blame like the backwards racism that shapes our society and the backwards anti-blackness that shapes our society and connect with other black people, they're doing this kind of like this shucking and jiving and twerking for whiteness that has already established that it doesn't accept them. So like it's completely bizarre. It's completely and it's sad and like I can't hate this.
That's real.
I can't hate that sister. It just makes me sad. And if I'm not to make it personal, but I blame her dad. I blame her dad. I really blame her dad. I blame the black man that created that environment, that fostered that confusion.
I heard that. Go ahead, Black Swan.
This is why I think it's so important to talk about the psychological aspect of it, right? Like, and I don't know. Obviously, I've never been to the UK, which I think is where she said she was from. But
yeah,
just like how you were talking about, I believe it was yesterday, being in a constant state of cognitive dissonance, like at all times, right? When we think about it, sometimes you don't even get to escape the oppressor in your own home if you don't own your home, but to have to constantly live with them in your home, right? And they don't come into, they do not, and this is why I had to like backtrack on the things I used to say about interracial relationships, because I'm like, no. I'm thinking about it from the best case scenario, but I need to look at it from reality, right? And the reality is that you rarely ever meet a YT person that is actually intentionally taken the time to understand what it means to be black from their perspective, because they'll never understand it from our perspective, but what it means to be black in this country from their perspective. So it's like, and I don't think it's unfortunate because she said that she liked your content. She said she felt like she was learning. And when she tried to cut you off, I tagged her in the comments and I said, when you were talking, because she was trying to cut you off, I said, he's educating right now. Just listen. And she got so frustrated. But what she fails to realize is that, like, we just watched her project. Like, it was a projection, whatever's going on internally with her. And I feel like we just, like, the psychological aspect of it is so crucial. It's so crucial. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, because, like, after that, you're going to get it in society. You're going to get it in your house. Like, it's just, you know, and you can't escape it.
She started off like she
was
started
asked
off
what her
explaining how she disagreed with interracial relationships being problematic at first, but then when she realized that the panel generally didn't approve of what she just said, she then kind of switched it, and in order to try to gain that favor back. And it's just, she has a lot of unpacking to do, and it just, it's unfortunate that these type of dynamics like happen, but this is the danger of, and like I'm speaking about this as being the product of an interracial marriage, and of course everybody on the panel knows this, but for people listening in, like this is the danger of it. Like, I love my father and I love my mother equally. I love them both. I do. But I recognize that their dynamic is the rarity compared to the actual vast majority of everything. And I was lucky to have been raised in a predominantly black community and to actually have a parent that cared about me identifying as black. Like that is luck. That was pure luck, because that is not the norm. Like, they're coming out here engaging in whatever identity that they can latch onto because of how much they are starting off as not knowing whether they belong to one versus whether they belong to another. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just these are the dangers of it, and this is why you have to stand 10 toes down on celebrating your Africanity. Like this is what we got to do, kings and queens.
Timothy, did you notice? Did you notice? Like, I think it's really important to listen to people, like exactly what they're saying when you ask them questions. And when you asked her, "What's your racial background?" She said, "Because remember, I told you, like a lot of mixed race people in the UK want to run. They blame their black and they want to run away from their blackness at full speed. And what happens, like, is when you asked her what race of art? Well, I'm mixed in it. I'm, and then you said, and then you asked her again, no, but mixed isn't a race; it's a description. Then what, and then her second question was, well, I'm not white, am I? At no point did she even reference blackness. She didn't even want blackness to come out of her mouth because, like, I'm sure she spent her entire life like being in spaces where, like, oh, I just wish they would forget that I'm half black. And it's just, it's sad more than anything, man. It's really, really sad that like, and like a lot that. Yeah, that she has to that's her own journey and she has to navigate that. And I feel sympathy and sympathy towards her, just obviously as another African person. And honestly, more so than the confusion of her, I blame so many black men for
I
creating these
know.
dynamics. Honestly, brother legend, I blame so many black men like for creating these dynamics
Mm-hmm.
and creating these confused children who get into their 20s and 30s and like have to like and are still completely confused about what kind of world they live in and like what and the dynamics that are flogging them. And like it really really just makes me sad more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was there was a lot of cognitive dissonance, but a lot of just confusion there. It's wild to me that you will say you're not white before you say you are black. That is
Oh, did you notice that?
wow. Yeah. It centers once again, it shows the they want to center themselves around their proximity to whiteness, not their proximity to blackness. They want to be not white. They want to be mixed. They don't want to be biracial African. They don't want to be a black biracial person. You see what I'm saying, or a biracial black person. They don't want to identify on this side with a description. They would rather give you a description of how close they are to that to the oppressor. Go ahead, Black Swan.
So my mother's Puerto Rican, right? And she was born there and she
Mm-hmm.
is a black woman. She was
Mm-hmm.
but she was the only black woman in her family. Like all of her aunts, her mother, and her grandmother is actually from Spain. And then her husband, we call her Gua, her husband was indigenous Taino to Puerto Rico. And I've never been there before. My sisters have gone. Well, my mom, she grew up there, but I've never been there, and I've always wondered like, what is the confusion? Because a lot of times when we look at the Hispanic community, you've ever noticed there's always like a discrepancy. Like it's hard to, they rarely will just say that they are black, you know? And so I was kind of looking into it and how Cardi was earlier was talking about interracial relationships being a tool of the oppressor. That was something that happened in Hispanic community. It's called I don't want to say it wrong. Blanca.
Blanquemente,
Yeah.
Sus.
La
And we were
Raza, La Raza.
And
yep.
there's another one, but I forget the other phrase.
Yeah, and we were talking about it. Were you on the panel, Tia, in Kron's Live this morning, where there was a girl from Brazil, and she was sharing her experiences and how that happened there historically. I think they're trying to move away from that direction, and they want to just acknowledge and embrace all different, like indigenous, or if you are Puerto Rican, wherever you come from, Brazilian, you know what I mean? But and also embracing your African ancestry. And it's just so interesting, like when you think about what country colonized each place and how they were colonized and how there's so many parallels and there's so many differences. But
Mm-hmm.
I like, so when I started looking into it more, I'm like, okay, now I understand why there is that level of confusion, because I'm just like, I don't get it. And my mom used to talk about it when we were growing up, just the dynamic between her and her sister, because her mother looks white. My grandmother looks YT. Well, she's YT presenting, and then my aunt is as well. And I think that she definitely felt a level of just kind of being casted out, because colorism is, I mean, it's everywhere, but it is so intense in the family. It is so
Mm-hmm.
intense in the family, and you can feel it. But I just, you
You
know,
know, the guy, I can't remember his name. Is it Louis Gates?
I don't know.
The one that
I don't
does,
know that name.
it wasn't he the professor that
Dr. Henry Louis Gates,
yeah,
Jr.
yeah. He does these ancestry things for celebrities. Many
Finding Your Roots.
like they're
Oh,
not
I know who you're talking about.
always black, but for the black ones, well, even for the white ones too, he discovers like enslaved people and their ancestry and all that other kind of stuff. But I'm bringing him up because years ago he did a docu-series about I forget what it's called, but like basically blackness throughout Latin America. And if you want to better understand the anti-blackness throughout Hispanic and Latin countries, watch that documentary, because each
Mm-hmm.
episode he goes to a different country and unpacks like the issues around blackness in that particular country and like where it stemmed from and give you the history of it. It's very like eye-opening. And I
I
think
actually, to your point, I actually saw that documentary. So yeah, you are that. That was a very, very good documentary
yeah,
about the topic.
it's
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
it's
really well
called,
done.
mhm,
And
it's
I
called
think
Black in Latin America. I
yes.
think that.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in Brazil there's a famous painting that depicts the whole concept of bettering the race. I think it's called Black in Latin America, quite right. But the guy's name is Henry Louis Gates. You should be able to find it if you search for that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a famous painting in Brazil that depicts the bettering the race mindset, where it's an African grandmother who's kind of like hopeful that her, I guess black or like black mixed daughter or granddaughter is going to marry a YT man, and it's like a staple. And I want to say the way I found out about it was because a couple years ago they had a black samba queen, an African samba queen in Brazil, which is like unheard of because of the colorism. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, she won one of like the foremost samba competitions, and they didn't want to like move forward with her because according to them she was too dark, too black basically. And I think they did end up replacing her, but she had either a boyfriend or fiance who was YT, and I think that's how the painting came out. It was one of them little movie things that you see come up on Facebook, but it was very interesting. Like, I'm telling you, a lot of us are battling the same things wrapped up in different boxes, and we don't even be knowing it because we trying to act like we so special because we come from somewhere else. Like
Right.
it be the same anti-blackness.
Yeah,
But
because the ingredients are the same. It's just different dishes.
Yeah, my grandmother who married my great grandmother who married her husband, he was Taino, and she was from Spain. We don't know anything about her family. We don't know anything
Mm-hmm.
about her side of the family because she was not supposed to marry during this time an indigenous person. You know what I mean? Like that, she wasn't supposed to marry somebody who was native to Puerto Rico because of the way that
Mm-hmm.
they view them. So she ended
Mm-hmm.
up obviously staying there, whatever the case is. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
complicated. It's really complicated. Even on my dad's side of the family, recently found out that I'm Nigerian, but he does not have a relationship with his father. And it's tough because I'm trying to like go further back, but it's like I don't want to ask him too many questions, you know what I mean? But it's just interesting when you think about like just the psychological damage that, this has done and this has caused.
I think
Yeah.
the phenomenon that you were describing is called blancamiento. It's basically the whitening of a population, and they call it mejora la raza, which means the bettering of the race. And it's what happens. And you've seen like it's effectively the weaponization of interracial miscegenation and relationships. And you see over if you actually look all over the world, you've seen that where like even if you look at a lot of Native Americans, a lot of the people that say that they're Native Americans are just white people with like with a distant Native American ancestor, but who present as white, who live as white, who have a white worldview. And if you look, the same thing is in Australia. Like if you look at Australia, most Aboriginal people don't look like Aboriginal people, like the dark-skinned kind of like wavy-haired, big-nosed Aboriginal people. Most people who say that they're Aboriginal are like these white presenting, white people with like a full Aboriginal maybe great grandparent, and you see that again and again and again, where like there's basically a transition of like these indigenous groups from like what they looked like when whitey people first encountered them to what they by and large look like today, which is like effectively like whitewashed, where they do have like ancestry, but they're effectively and functionally white people with you're a white person with a native ancestor, as opposed to like an actual representation of the lineage that your native or indigenous ancestor came from. And I think that's the weaponization of miscegenation, and it's happened, and the methods that it's happened all over the world are brutal. So we have like there's been like it's culminated in stuff like forced adoptions all over the world that happened in Australia, in Papua New Guinea, all over the world, where like they would take like indigenous people out of their communities and raise them in white homes and completely brainwash these indigenous children. And then like when these indigenous children got to adulthood, of course they would end up with white people, because that's all they know. And like and it's to disconnect people from their culture, disconnect people from their socio-political struggle, and like to normalize the condition. And
wait till you see how that links up with the education system. The education system that we have now. You either know how to do something or you don't. The education system is flawed because it comes from our colonizers. I've got to actually do a deeper dive into it, but I know it ties back to the schools where they would kind of whitewash indigenous children all around the world, even in Australia, different places. Also, Argentina. The history of Argentina is speaks to what you were just saying. They basically, Argentina is the whitest country in South America because of Blanquamente and Mejora La Raza, like you said. Basically, there was it once had a booming African population because of slavery, and eventually now it's, I think they said like 90 something percent white, because they literally just over the years just kept doing that, diluting down.
And
So
they did it in like 3 decades in Argentina. They did it very fast. They unalived a mass portion of them, I think after a war, or like they tricked them into like participating in some war. The story is a little bit fuzzy. And then the rest of them, they imported people from Spain to essentially breed the blackness out. But they achieved this in a very, very short period of time. It was literally like 30 years, and they completely whitewashed the country.
I find it so ironic that they have created societal norms where whiteness is deemed as being superior when biology and literally nature deems the opposite. Like kings and queens, like and for those, like everybody on the panel already knows this, but for those listening in, higher concentrations of naturally produced melanin literally gives you more biological capabilities than any other racial group on the planet. Like just by you naturally being able to produce more melanin literally means that you have better eyesight. It means that you have faster muscle twitch responses. It means that you have anti-aging properties. It means that you have, you also have higher cognitive function. Like these are real legitimate things that they keep in their research papers, they keep in their research books. They have all of these things. And actually, I even made a post about it, and I encourage anybody to go check it out. It's literally tagged at the top of my page. You click it, you go into the description, you'll see every single source that I've been able to find about it, and you'll see all of that listed there. But I'm telling you that at the end of the day, they created societal norms that shows whiteness as being superior, but in actuality, the reverse is the truth. So it's and not to say like to try to promote the conversation of superiority, but at the end of the day, if the research and literally is stating that higher concentrations of melanin have biological advantages, then the facts are the facts, and that is just that. And that is what YT people are very afraid of black people finding out about, because they don't want us to recognize that they're actually trying to get closer to us for those better biological advantages. They also have a fetish towards that melanin. They have a fetish towards all of the biological capabilities that we do have. There's a reason why only black women have the Eve gene. There's a reason why they're studying African genetics in order to find out the ways in which they can cure certain diseases. It's not because Africans have diseases. It's because literally the foundation of the genetic structure that's required to develop, to be able to fight off certain things, or even be able to mutate our genetics to help us better adapt to our environments. The oldest forms of that are literally found on the African continent. The most diverse and most genetically complex region of the world is Africa. That is why they switch society so
Oh man, your mic is messing up, Timothy. I'm not sure what's going on. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you can hear. You know, I think, but Timothy was making a very good point that like there's so much, history that is hidden in plain sight, and so much information that would completely warp the average person's worldview is just hidden in books, and they know that most people don't read, and most people don't have the time. Most people are trying to make ends meet and don't have the time to dive into history and to dive into research papers and the kind of things that people openly publish in your face. like
That's intentional.
yeah, it's almost like I feel like sometimes it's like this kind of cosmic law. Like they publish it in your face so like it almost justifies your kind of servitude. Like no, we're telling you, we know like all this scientific information, all this historical information, and like so when we lie to you in your face, like it's because you deserve it, because we've already told you. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that like, and it's not to take the conversation back, but one of the things, I'm sure most people haven't heard of this, but like one of the things that happened in like in Nigeria, in modern day Nigeria, in eastern Nigeria, is that because a lot of the narratives like where we blame ourselves and like we blame Africans and blackness for like the things that have happened to us, is that a lot of people don't tell you that like Africans like fought back against like slavery and the slave trade. And like one of the things that happened in eastern Nigeria is that you had a group of mercenaries called the Abam, and the Abam were a group of mercenaries who were making raids into northern Igbo land and the northern part of eastern Nigeria. And like what happened in eastern Nigeria is that that had never happened in African in Nigerian history like previous to that, where like you had a dozen different like ethnic groups come together for a military alliance that had never happened in the history of the region, specifically to fight back against the encroachment of slavery further into the African hinterland. It's called the Amakon Alliance, and like people don't tell you these things. People don't tell you like Queen Nzinga rejected slavery. People don't tell you that
The Zanji Rebellion.
yeah, people don't tell you like Abdul Kader Kane like rejected slavery. People don't tell you that King Alfonso rejected slavery. And more importantly, people don't tell you what happened to like the African leaders that rejected slavery, that they were made examples of. That like in every single one of the occasions, like you can talk about like these leaders being assassinated, they're being deposed, them being exiled,
Giving some tea to
specifically
drink.
made examples of. And like it's really important like to understand that like our ancestors like didn't just take this lying on their back. They didn't just accept like the conditions. Those conditions were violently enforced, like forced onto them, and like it wasn't this kind of just complicity. It wasn't. It was. And remember, these people were fighting back against the slave trade, amidst their rivals arming themselves. So like think about the socio-political condition of like an arms race, and still saying F the people that are trying to that are fueling the arms race, and like and these people seeing like what happens to like other leaders who like who stand up to the trade of slaves. And I think when we talk about like when we talk about slavery and what happened what happened when we talk about slavery and like the wickedness of chattel slavery, it's important to remember chattel slavery doesn't exist in like any in West African culture or in Central African culture. There's nothing like owning a person being legally cattle. There's nothing like owning people in perpetuity. There's nothing like slave economies. There's nothing like taking millions of people and displacing them. There's nothing like that in African culture. And it's important to remember that like this is an imposition.
Oh, his mic went out.
This is why it's important to know your history, y'all. But I gotta go. It's past my bedtime, man. Timothy, if you want to say something, you go ahead. But oh, he's back.
Oh, yeah.
Also, because the last point I wanted to make, what they had in Africa in the past, like what they call African slavery, was like it's just penal labor and prisoners of war. Is both of things that exist in America today. Like what they call like slavery in America, slavery in Africa in the past, is exactly what we have in America today. So if they did slavery in Africa, if you call that an equivalent to chattel slavery,
I would say America's even worse though.
Yeah, like what they when they do penal labor and they're sending like they're sending black inmates to go and work for 12 cents an hour in KFC and Wendy's. That's it. That's worse than what existed in Africa. What they call slavery, and they try and conflate with chattel slavery in like African history. When like the prisoners of war that we have in that they had in African cultures are treated better than what Americans do in Guantanamo Bay. There's nothing like what happens in Guantanamo Bay in traditional African culture. So like when people gaslight you and say, "Well, Africans did slavery themselves," it's nothing like the violent inhumanity of chattel slavery. And when people say that to you, they're insulting your intelligence and they're attempting to gaslight you.
And not only that, you know, the I would call them servants. You know, slave is a Eurocentric word.
Your mic went out, Legend.
But Legend, your mic's gone, bro.
Not Kate.
Okay, I was saying I would call them servants. You know, when you look at African history. Okay, so my mic's gonna keep going out, but I was saying I would call them servants before I call them slaves in African history. If you look at the servants of Timbuktu, you would see that they would be treated like royalty. It was a reflection of the owner or the master, for the slave to be well dressed, well read. Some of them became scholars. They would smell good, take showers. That was a reflection. So it was kind of like stunting for you to take care of those that take care of you. Exactly the opposite when it comes to chattel slavery. Now, I know some of y'all are Google scholars. You're going to find that there was chattel slavery on the African continent in ancient Kemet. I would be careful calling it even ancient, but in Kemet, Egypt, there was chattel slavery. However, of course, it was nothing like European chattel slavery, but also that wasn't until later after the Asianization of ancient Kemet. That was when it started to deviate from its African roots and, you know, start to blend more with those that were not from Africa. You know, it became a corridor to the east and in Europe. You know, but so once again, it's still not a part of our culture. But somebody's confused. Egypt is in Africa, and Egypt, Kemet, is an African kingdom built by Africans. And right, slaves did not build those pyramids. Those pyramids were built before said slavery. So again, when Asians started to come into ancient Africa, that's when we started to see Egypt's version of chattel slavery. When those pyramids were built, that was our ancestors doing amazing work. Right. That's why I didn't use the word Arabization, but I said Asians. That's what John Henry Clark calls them. Yeah, we're talking about not the Arabs because Arab is an ethnicity. We're talking about the Asian Arabs. We're talking about West Asians. As Asiatic people came to Kemet, that is when we start to see chattel slavery. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I gotta go to bed. Um, it was a good live. I think I learned some things. I hope y'all did too. Um, don't forget to join us on TikTok. I'm sorry, on Twitter. BIGBROLGND. I also post my replays on YouTube. BIGBROLGND. Go ahead and search it. I'm the same across all platforms. Pan African propaganda. I'm easy to find. Join the Discord, absolutely. Me and Timothy got some good stuff coming for y'all. We got some. We're planning on hosting a live for brothers. Timothy, I got a book for you, brother. That maybe you could just read a few chapters from. I'm gonna brush up on it myself before our live. But somebody put me on. Having these discussions is not just something I do on TikTok. The name of the book is The Man Not. Um, oh, you can't see that. That's my laptop. The Man hyphen Not. N-O-T. The Man Not. Race, class, genre, and the dilemmas of black manhood. The Man Not. Race, Class, Genre, and the Dilemmas of Blackhood by Tommy, Tommy, J. Curry, like Steph Curry. Tommy Curry. The Man Not. Basically, I'll read the summary. Tom J. Curry's provocative book, The Man Not, is a justification for black male studies. He posits that we should conceptualize the black male as a victim oppressed by his sex. The Man Not, therefore, is a corrective of sorts, offering a concept of black males that could challenge the existing accounts of black men and boys, desiring the power of white men who oppress them that has been proliferated throughout academic research across disciplines. So you see where he's going with this. It's basically what we talk about all the time, how patriarchy does not suit us as black men, and desiring the power of white men who oppress us and subjugating our women to that same oppression does not align with ideas of masculinity that part of our culture. So I'll leave it there. We like reading books, y'all. We like learning stuff and things. So if y'all want to do that with us, B1 Initiative, don't forget to donate. Appreciate everybody that's been donating. We're inching closer to our goal. Last night, I think we was around 250 out of 1,000. So when we get to 1,000, I'll let y'all know. But we're gonna keep fundraising because I'm putting this money into building the organization. Shout out to Francesca, my moderator. She's also moderating in the Discord. If you want to be a moderator in our community, in our space, in the Discord, Join B1 Initiative and say something in the chat like you want to be a moderator, whatever. We're going to have to vet you. We're going to have to vet you. We're going to have to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? We're not just letting people in there. We're going to have to talk. But that being the case, we do call for all Pan-Africans and African people to organize. It is the year of organization. It is a political year. It's a election year. Our people need to get together this year. We need to start talking because you know the enemy is going to attack this year. Look back, 2016, very political year. That's the year we had the Black Lives Matter. We had a lot going on back then. Look at 2020, another political year, and look, that's when black people. It's about to happen again, y'all. It is 2024. It is about to get very politicized. There's a lot of things going on. Appreciate you, me, myself, and I. There's a lot of stuff going on this year. It is time to organize, not just come on TikTok and use little talking points and talk. It's time for us to get together, talk about what we can do, and just build amongst ourselves. I appreciate that. Me, myself, and I. Shout out to Alicia. Thank you for moderating as well. And peace to Kira. Tell hubby I said what up. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Thank you, me, myself, and I again for the gifts. Shout out to everybody that sent gifts. One love. I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday night. Yeah.
Jump in that tub before you jump in black business.
I heard that. Absolutely. All right, y'all. One love. Oh man, wait. I forgot how to turn it off because the top is white. Okay, all right.